Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of Harwich Mariners Baseball. This time, the Mariners will be at Veterans Field for the second time this season. They will look to get back to 500 for the first time since earlier in the season, at sitting at 16 and 17 against the Chatham Anglers. Hello, everybody. I'm Colin Casey, as always, joined by Tyler Henry. And Tyler, before we get to baseball, we just had a pretty spectacular opening ceremony with the United States Coast Guard being honored. There's a lot of people stationed in Cape Cod, including on the island of Nantucket. I think this just is a big symbol of how much this Cape League cares about its armed forces.
Yeah, it certainly is. And I mean, once again, we had a great ceremony. The helicopters flying overhead and dropping the game ball down onto the field, and then the first pitch being thrown out by the first ever woman to be in the head of a Coast Guard position. So an excellent ceremony here at Veterans Field. And you know, the Cape Cod League, it seems to be one of those things that's just been important to them all season long, and it's very good to see the kind of support for the men and women who go out there every day and serve our country. So another great day, and another great day for some baseball here. Some actual good weather coming in here at Veterans Field.
Yep, a little bit on the hotter side, but it being close to 7 o'clock now, things starting to cool off, especially with Chatham being on the east coast of Cape Cod. And let's take a look at the lineups, as the Harwich Mariners will be resting a couple of key guys with the All-Star game coming up tomorrow. Leading things off for them, center fielder out of Texas Tech, Max Marshak, followed by Chris Gallen, batting second, playing left field. Joey Weeman, the DH out of University of Cincinnati, will bat third. Mike Ludwig, the right fielder out of Wake Forest, will bat fourth. Dylan Noisy, the shortstop out of Texas Tech, batting fifth. Corey Acton, University of Florida, third baseman, will bat sixth. Chris Lanzilli, also out of Wake Forest, will play first and bat seventh. Mike Rothenberg, the catcher out of Duke, will bat eighth. And Hal Hughes, second baseman today, usually a shortstop, playing at second out of LSU, will round out the order. And the Harwich Mariners will send Jared Weatherby out to the mound out of Elon. It'll be his first start of the season. We've seen him come out of the pen multiple times this season, but a unique situation tonight, Tyler, for Jared Weatherby.
Yeah, Weatherby will have an opportunity to come out and really showcase what he can do out of a start as opposed to the bullpen. And it was a really great start to the year for Weatherby, a guy that came out and dominated hitter after hitter. I believe he threw his first 5 outings completely scoreless, but then got a little bit shaky, gave up the one walk-off home run against Falmouth, and didn't look too good in that YD game either. So this will be a big bounce-back opportunity for him, and we'll see whether or not he can straighten things out and get Harwich back on the right track as they look to come in and extend a 3-game winning streak to make it 4 in a row.
Certainly be interesting to see how far into this game Weatherby goes. He has had some lengthy starts at Elon, but being on an innings limit, that might factor into how many pitches he ends up throwing in this outing. So let's take a look at the other side with the Chatham Anglers, who come in at 19-12-2 atop the Eastern Division. Caden Polkovich, center fielder, will bat leadoff, followed by Ben Ramirez, the shortstop. Saul Garcia, the catcher, will make his debut against the Harwich Mariners this season. He will bat third. Paxton Wallace, the first baseman, will bat cleanup and play first. Jamal O'Gwin, the left fielder, will bat fifth. Brady Smith, the designated hitter in this one, will bat sixth. Jorge Arenas, third baseman, will bat seventh. Kendrick Kalilau, right fielder, 2018 draft pick, will bat eighth. And Houston Morrill, second baseman, will round things out for the Anglers. And pitching for the third time this season against the Harwich Mariners for the Chatham Anglers is R.J. Dabovich, the 2018 18th round draft pick out of for Kansas City, out of Arizona State. Get another opportunity. And Tyler, with 6 innings and just 1 earned run given up, 6 strikeouts against Harwich this season, seemed like a no-brainer to start him this evening.
Well, especially not after what he did last time. You take a look at Dabovich's last appearance in a game, and it was actually a start that came a few days ago. He was absolutely lighting it up as he was able to strike out 9 of the 13 batters he faced. He allowed just 1 base runners in 4 innings, and granted it was against Hyannis, who may or may not be more like a double-A team this year, but still an excellent pitching performance against some really good offensive talent. So he'll get another start here and come out and look for another good game here against the Harwich Mariners.
So we're just a few moments away from first pitch. The umpires having a discussion, and Tyler, with the All-Star game coming tomorrow at Orleans, that being at 6 o'clock, so if anyone's out on the Cape, I highly recommend you make your way over to Eldridge Park for those festivities. It should be a very fun night with some of the best in the Cape on display. But Tyler, with that game coming up, Coach Steve Engler is going to go ahead and rest some of his starters, including the top home run and RBI man, Nico Cavadas. I think this is a perfect opportunity to kind of do that despite the Mariners being in the midst of a playoff race?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing you got to understand about this league is it's more about developing the players and giving them opportunities in front of the scouts than it is about winning. At the end of the day, it'd be great to go and win a Cape League championship. It's part of the reason that this league is so competitive, but you want those guys to be fresh. You want them to be able to go and perform well at an all-star game where there are going to be more top talent scouts looking for good talent than there are at any of these individual games. So you're going to give those guys an opportunity to go and perform at their highest level, and that's got to be what's most important. But again, I mean, you look at it this year and you see a lineup that features a lot of guys that have really kind of struggled this season with the bat at times, and they'll look to kind of turn it around here. But a perfect opportunity for them against a Chatham squad that they've already gotten one victory against, looking for a second one, and they can utilize the momentum that Harwich has with the 3-game winning streak, looking to pick up number 4.
And you mentioned the lack of offense from the Harwich Mariners over the course of the season starting to pick up now, but in between the series between Harwich and Chatham, there's just been a lack of offense in general with Harwich with a 1.39 ERA against the Chatham Anglers this season, and then for Chatham, they've got a 1.04 ERA against Harwich, both teams boasting a shutout in this series. Tyler, these are two of the best pitching staffs on the Cape this season.
Yeah, this is a lineup for Chatham that started off really, really hot, and since then they have calmed down a lot. You look at Jamal O'Gwyn, a guy that had 3 home runs in the first 4 games of the season. Since then, he's gone awfully quiet. One of the only guys that's still producing every single day is Caden Polkovich, and that's why he's at the top of the order. You got Ben Ramirez having a pretty good season as well, but the rest of the guys in this lineup are pretty inconsistent, and keep in mind, Colin, they're doing the same thing with the Chatham guys that are going to be going to the All-Star game as Harwich is. There are a lot of big bats not in the lineup today, so it'll be interesting to see what this looks like. Could see fewer offense than what we're used to seeing, but at the end of the day, it'll be interesting to see how these teams react. And a completely different starter for the Harwich Mariners, as you mentioned, Jared Weatherby, a guy who has not gotten to start all year. So everything is kind of topsy-turvy. It's all over the place, and it should make for a very interesting game of baseball here on a beautiful Saturday afternoon in Chatham.
Once again on the mound is the righty out of Arizona State, R.J. Dabovich, the Pueblo, Colorado native so far this season, has appeared in 6 games, 3 of them starts. He's gone 1-0 with a 2.25 ERA, one of the best among qualified starters for the Chatham Anglers this season, and opponents hitting just .214 against Dabovich this year, and it's no wonder why the Royals decided to use an 18th round pick on him this season, and Dabovich with another year at Arizona State looking to boost that resume for sure.
Yeah, and he'll look to get it done here against a team that he's had good success with this season. You take a look at his starts, and Chatham has won, I believe, in both of the games that in one of the games that he pitched in. That was the 5-0 victory right here at Veterans Field this season. The other interesting thing is Harwich came to Veterans Field here, and I believe it was Game 3 of the season, but since then they have not played a game here in Chatham all year, so making a road trip that they're a little unfamiliar with, but just down the road at the end of the day, and they'll look to get things started here as Max Marshak will lead it off for Harwich.
So Marshak makes his way to the plate, and as you mentioned, just down the road here at Veterans Field, and Chatham leads the league in attendance, averaging just under 1,600 fans each contest, and another pretty big crowd on hand as they enjoy this night honoring the U.S. Coast Guard. And Marshak comes to the plate, 4 at-bats against Chatham this season. He's scored a run, but has gone hitless with 2 strikeouts. And the first pitch is hit on the ground, a diving play over at third by Arenas. The throw on to first is in time, and how about that to start the game as Jorge Arenas, the great diving play at the hot corner, and Marshak's retired for out number 1.
Yeah, and he really had to make a great play on that ball coming off to his left side, and as soon as he knocked it down, you got the speed of Marshak to worry about. So not able to beat the throw out at first, but still an excellent effort there by Max. And here comes Chris Gallen, a guy who has just been tearing the cover off the ball over the course of the last 10 days. I know we said it in the game yesterday, but he added a few more RBIs to his total yesterday as well.
Davich's first pitch to Chris Galland is on the outside corner for a strike. Galland, as you mentioned, he and Joey Weimer have done a great job of driving in runs over this hot stretch for the Mariners offense.
I mean, for Galland, he's got more RBIs than games over his last 5, 7 RBIs, and in 16 at-bats, he's gotten 9 hits as he fouls this one back to the screen. And if you go to the last 10 games, it hasn't gotten a whole lot less good for him as he's hitting .429 over that stretch with 12 hits and 9 RBIs. So Chris Gallen has just been continuously producing for a Harwich team that has really been figuring it out with the bat in their hand so far here over the last couple of weeks.
Gallen comes in with the average just below 300 at 299, looking to get back to where he was in his first couple weeks of the season. He's found himself into a pretty much everyday role in the outfield, and the 0-2 is just outside for a ball.
Yeah, it looked like something off speed there, and Gallen's been sitting on a lot of pitches this year. He's been starting to get more patient over the last couple of weeks. That seems to be one of the big things that's helped him be more successful as he's found his way on base. And even if he just walks, the speed that he has and the stolen bases he produces for Harwich can really help him out. Just has to find his way onto that first bag.
Davivich's 1-2 is swung on and missed, strike 3. Got him on a pitch in the dirt, handcuffed Gallen, and 2 up, 2 down to begin the game for R.J. Davivich of the Chatham Anglers.
Well, that was an excellent slider there by Davivich, just bringing it down in the zone, keeping everything low to Chris Gallen. And he knows Gallen's been driving the ball pretty good, so he's not going to give him anything up in the zone. He keeps it low, and he gets his first strikeout of the day. Now he'll have to face off against the second part of the dynamic duo. It's Joey Weimer.
So Weimer, with that big stance from the right side. 6'4", 215 out of Temperance, Michigan. Hit 309 on the season. And he takes a pitch for a strike, and that's good enough at this point to be a team leader in average. The only guy on the entire team above 300 coming into today.
Yep, he's been doing it all season long. Hasn't really had an off stretch similar to what we've seen guys like Gallen have, where they kind of go low for a couple of weeks and then bounce back. Weimer's just been producing all season.
The 0-1, and there's a swing and a miss. Davivich keeping the ball down so far, and it's been pretty successful as he's got Weimer down 0-2.
Yeah, keeping the ball down and keeping it with off-speed pitches. He hasn't thrown too many fastballs so far. He knows that Weimer and Gallen are guys that really like to jump on the high-speed pitch, especially when it's put up in the zone. So he's done a pretty good job of controlling and keeping it down low with an 0-2 count. Let's see what he goes to here.
The pitch, swing and a miss, strike 3, and he keeps it down once more, and Weimer can't dig it out of the dirt. And it's a 1-2-3 first inning for R.J. Davivich and the Chatham Anglers. We're through half an inning from Veterans Field, scoreless. You're listening to Harwich Mariners Baseball on the Mariners Radio Network.
Now's a good time to check out the Snack Shack. They tell me they got plenty of cold drinks over at the Snack
Bottom of the
Shack.
first from Veterans Field. The Harwich Mariners unable to get anything going in the first inning. And Chatham Anglers looking to bounce back after a loss yesterday. They had won 3 games in a row prior to that, but coming off the loss, Tyler, they're looking to kind of keep that momentum going into the All-Star break with a win tonight.
Well, and again, they're one of those teams that, despite a couple of struggles throughout the season, they've really kind of been consistent all year long. It's part of the reason why they have the best record in the entire league coming in today at 19-12-2, and they've gotten the majority of that damage done against the East. A couple of easy West games left for them this season, so we'll see whether or not they can find a way to pick up another one here against a Harwich team that snapped a 10-game losing streak to the Chatham Anglers dating back to 2017, about 2 weeks ago on a Fox game. So a really good day for the Harwich Mariners that day. They came away with a 2-0 victory, and they'll look for another one here.
So Caden Polkovich will lead things off for the Chatham Anglers, going up against the toughest pitching staff in the entire CCBL, with Harwich coming in with a 3.21 ERA and opponents hitting just .220 against them this year, both league highs, or league lows, I should say. So Jared Weatherby's first pitch comes from the windup, and it misses upstairs for ball 1.
Got a fun story on Jared Weatherby. So when he got here, he talked to Coach Berger about what pitches he throws, and that's kind of the way that I know. I go and I talk to one of the coaches about what these guys are bringing home so that we can kind of identify what pitches they have. Is this 1-0 pitch is going to miss low, and at the time I was told fastball, circle change, knuckle curve, and you and I kind of looked at it and we were like, that's one of the weirdest pitcher sets that I think we've seen. And so I had a chance to talk to Berger the other day about pitches that guys were developing, and he said Weatherby was actually kind of messing with him at the time when he said that. So it's actually fastball, curveball, slider change, as he'll have a foul ball tipped back to the screen here, but kind of messing with Berger, and then Berger just relayed the information to us, and that's why I've been saying off speed more than circle change the last couple of weeks, because it did not look like that's what he was throwing.
So it's 2-1 count to Polkovich. He was just 1 for 10 against the Mariners this season, and he lays off the pitch. He's got a hitter's count. He has walked twice, but 7 strikeouts to go along with it, so Polkovich having a bit of trouble getting the bat on the ball against Harwich pitching. Weatherby's 3-1. That's over for a strike to work the count full.
Yeah, Polkovich, one of the guys that's been producing all season long, and again, he's been the most consistent hitter in this lineup, even as some guys have kind of tailed off and seen less and less action. Polkovich has just continually been there for Chatham, so he'll look to continue his production line here and get something going against the M's here in the first inning.
Payoff pitch is hit on the ground towards third. Nice play by Acton. Throw on to first is in time to Chris Lanzilli for out number 1. And let's take a quick look at the Harwich Mariners infield and outfield. Corey Acton, as you just mentioned, making the play over at third base. Dylan Noisy at short. Hal Hughes, the second baseman. Chris Lanzilli at first. Left to right in the outfield, Chris Galland in left. Max Marshak in center. Michael Ludwig in right. And catcher Mike Rothenberg back in the lineup doing the catching for Jared Weatherby. So in steps Ben Ramirez, who hasn't had a lot of success either against the Mariners this season, just 1 for 11 with an RBI, but it was a huge RBI as it was a go-ahead ground out in the 8th inning back at White House Field that ended up giving Chatham a 3-2 victory over the Mariners. He takes the first pitch for a ball high. Ramirez this season hitting .273. And he takes a pitch below the knees.
Yeah, Ben Ramirez, another one of the best guys in terms of just finding his way on base. It seems like, whether he's been content to work a walk or find a way to get a hit, he's been another guy who's produced consistently. Not quite as much as Polkovich, but going with that lefty-righty to start the game off here, it's dangerous.
There's a fly ball out towards left field. Chris Galland has no trouble with that one, makes the catch, and like Dabovich, Weatherby with a good start in the first, 2 up, 2 down.
Yeah, and I think the one question a lot of people have about Jared Weatherby today is how deep is he going to go into this game? Because, again, typically he's only been used for 1, maybe 2 innings. He's coming to 1 game where he pitched 2 innings. Aside from that, it's been just 1 inning after 1 inning after 1 inning. So we'll see whether or not they try to stretch him out a little bit or whether they keep him to a 1 or 2 inning game. But so far off to a pretty good start. He got the first 2 guys, and now he'll face catcher Saul Garza to try to close out this first inning.
Garza with just 1 RBI on the season, but it came on a solo home run, hitting .455 in his first 4 games with Chatham, and he takes the first pitch low for ball 1. Garza, a teammate of Daniel Cabrera's and Hal Hughes at LSU. Junior out of Edinburgh, Texas. And the 1-0 just misses outside. Garza, one of the taller guys in this lineup, 6'3", 225 pounds, and he's got a big frame, which is important, him being a catcher. Able to cover both sides of the plate, and he swings and fouls a pitch off to the right for strike 1.
And Colin, I think this is the only broadcasting setup we have all season long where we are in prime range for a foul ball. So we are sitting currently right behind the home bleachers as we have a pretty good view of the field from here, but sitting a little bit further back than typical, and there's a safety net, but a foul ball at the right angle. We could potentially get one up here today.
Hopefully our equipment survives it.
Right.
As there's a ground ball foul off towards third base dugout.
Well, I will say I'm using the stick mic today, so I've got one fewer hand to try to make a grab with, but if I had my glove, it wouldn't be a problem. I kind of left it in my car.
You could always just, drop the mic, and people are probably going to be wondering what in the world that noise is.
If you hear a loud thud, just assume I made a great play.
Yeah. So it's 2-2 count to Garza. Paxton Wallace waits on deck. Could be 6 up, 6 down from both teams to start the game, and able to prevent it for at least another pitch is Saul Garza.
Of course, Veterans Field all decked out here for Coast Guard Appreciation Night and First Responders Appreciation Night. You got a large American flag being hung down from the fireman's ladder out there by what I believe is the Chatham Fire Station out in right field. And of course, you got the hill filled with people out there in right field as well.
2-2 misses low, and Garza thought that was ball 4.
You got to know the count. He was taken off towards first base and kind of went, wait a minute, that's only ball 3. So Weatherby's got one more to waste here, but Yeah, in case you've forgotten, Veterans Field, pretty good spot, all things considered, and it's got the patented Cape Cod tree line, but it only extends about 3/4 of the way into center field from the left side. The rest of it is all open for seating.
The 3-2 is at the knees for called strike 3, and Garza can't believe it. Weatherby gets the strikeout looking, and that ends the first inning. We are scoreless from Veterans Field. You're listening to Harwich Mariners Baseball on the Mariners Radio Network.
Make sure you have it. All right.
Welcome back to Veterans Field. Tyler Henry, Colin Casey as we go to the visitors half of the second. It'll be Ludwig, Noisy, and Acton due up. A lot of other games going on right now across the Cape Cod Baseball League, and actually everybody else is already in play right now, as this is the final game to get going, the only 7 o'clock game today. So let's give you some scores from around the league. The Brewster Whitecaps are up 5-3 over the YD Red Sox. That game is currently going into the bottom of the 7th inning, so time ticking here on the YD Sox. And two interesting games to keep an eye on, Colin. The Orleans Firebirds are playing the Falmouth Commodores. Falmouth currently leads that one 2-0, and the Wareham Gatemen trail the Bourne Braves 2-3. Both Wareham and Falmouth could join Katuitt as the only three teams in the league to clinch a playoff spot at this point, which is crazy when you consider that over here in the East, the first and last place teams are currently separated by just 11 points. So kind of a wild difference there. And then, of course, the Hyannis Harbor Hawks currently leading the Katuitt Cavaliers 4-2, but we expect that to probably change sometime here in the next 5 to 10 minutes. Actually, now they're up 6-2. They just pushed 2 more runs across 15 seconds ago. I may have spoken too soon.
So the Harbor Hawks look to try to get hot late in July as the first pitch to Mike Ludwig misses low for ball 1. Ludwig batting cleanup for first time this season.
Yep, hasn't had a lot of opportunities here in this spot, as typically he's been used as one of the guys in the 5 or 6 hole. But a good chance for him with the bases empty.
And there's a swing and a miss for a strike. And Ludwig has had some success against Chatham this season, hitting 3 for 12. Has struck out 4 times, so it's been kind of feast or famine for the right fielder out of Wake Forest. Dabovich's 1-1 is over once again for a strike, so Dabovich really attacking the zone so far, just 2 balls thrown. Excuse me, 3.
Yeah, we'll see if Ludwig gets one to pounce on here, as he's been another guy who's gotten more and more patient as time's gone on. His batting average has dipped a little bit, but his on-base percentage has held relatively steady.
The 1-2 is a breaking ball, fouled just outside the batter's box.
And Colin, I want to really quickly go back to my comment about Hyannis, because when you look at them in the basement right now, they have 13 points this year. If they win every game for the rest of the season, they could still get 37 points. But keep in mind, 37 is the maximum that they could come away with. So for the West, if anybody gets to 37 or above, they're in the playoffs at this point. Whereas in the East, we're probably not going to have the first team clinch a playoff spot until, I'd say, probably 4 or 5 games left to go in the season.
It's magic number season on the Cape as the 1-2 misses wildly up and away.
I mean, currently you have it's a 5.5 game lead for the Chatham Anglers over the Brewster Whitecaps, who sit in last place, but that can be made up in the course of less than a week. Although we are pretty close to having only 1 week left in the season, it seems like this has gone by extremely quickly.
Yeah, it seems like the month of July especially, things just kind of picked up after the 4th on, and all these games, a lot of games being played due to some rainouts as well, so jamming a lot of games in a little bit of time, and the 2-2 is swung on and missed, so Mike Ludwig strikes out swinging, and that is 3 consecutive strikeouts for R.J. Dabovich out of 4 batters faced. He looks really strong early.
Yeah, I've seen this before. When R.J. Dabovich gets locked in, he can be one of the most dominant pitchers, not only in the Pac-12, but all across college baseball, and he looks locked in now, but it looks like he's picking up off of where he left off last time. I mentioned he struck out 9 of the 13 batters that he faced, and here he struck out 3 out of 4, all swinging. But now he'll face Dylan Noisy, who had 2 home runs yesterday, the first and second home run of his entire season. So we'll see whether or not he remains swinging a hot bat or whether he cools off today.
And he'll first pitch swing at a ball and flare it foul off to the right side out of play. And with the big game yesterday, Noisy now sits at 188 on the season. Mentioned the 2 home runs. He's the only other guy outside of Nico Cavadas to have multiple home runs on this roster for Harwich.
Well, and as we mentioned, he's the only other guy to have a home run in the month of July. So the only other guy to have multiple home runs all season and in much less than one game.
Ground ball, play made over at third by Arenas. The long throw, and he's safe. So Jorge Arenas with another spectacular play at the hot corner, but this time Noisy's speed provides too much, and it's a one-out infield single for the Mariners here in the second.
Yeah, Noisy was always going to be too fast to beat that out. I mean, it would have taken a perfect throw from Arenas, and it was a pretty good one, but still, Noisy finds another way to get on base, and now the speedster is on here. His team still tied up 0-0, and these are the situations Harwich has been putting themselves in as of late. Get a fast guy on first base, have him swipe second, and then hit him around to third, and he'll find his way home. We'll see whether or not they capitalize here with Corey Acton at the plate.
Throw over to first. Back in time easily is Noisy, and Corey Acton uses an offensive replacement yesterday for Christian Fedko. Had himself a pretty good game at Brewster, including a 2-run double. That one now 4 days ago. And the first pitch to him misses up and away for ball 1.
Yeah, we'll see whether he can continue his recently good action, as again, it's really had a pretty slow start. He got a hold of a ball a couple of days ago that I think you and I both thought had a chance to maybe get out of the park, but kept it in play, did turn into an RBI for him, and again, he looks to continue swinging the bat that he's been swinging the last couple of weeks here. As another throw over to Acton is not going to be there nearly in time, just trying to check his speed very carefully.
Corey Acton with a home run and 4 RBIs this season. That home run coming at Orleans, a 2-run shot, and then the other 2 RBIs coming at Brewster. So doing all of his runs driven in on the road, and he looks at a fastball in the outside corner for strike 2.
Yeah, and back to Dylan Noisy really quick. He's one of the guys that has the most aggressive swing on the team, other than maybe Joey Weimer and also Nico Cavadas, in terms of how aggressively they go up there at the plate. So finds his way on, and again, he's just gotten it done day after day here over the last 3 days.
Another throw over, a close one, and back in time is Noisy. And one thing we forgot to mention is what happened last time these 2 teams played here, and that was some bad base running by the Mariners. A couple of guys getting picked off by the man on the mound, R.J. Dabovich.
Yeah, he was able to pick off back-to-back runners, one of which was Joey Weimer, the other, I don't remember off the top of my head, but he picks off back-to-back guys to end an inning, and it was just really bizarre. But from that point on, as another throw over to Noisy is not there in time. It seemed like every single pitcher was like, all right, well, we know that we can potentially get a guy thrown off over there at first, so we're going to keep throwing over, and that's kind of haunted Harwich all season long, as they've been thrown over on more than anybody else in the league.
Pretty big lead by Noisy at first. And the 1-1 he's going. Pitches over for a strike. The throw down has dug out at short. Ramirez had trouble getting it, and Acton is in safely, Noisy's in safely with Acton at the plate, and Dylan Noisy continues to steal bags left and right ever since arriving here in Harwich.
I'm kind of sad I didn't say it, but it looked like he was going to be going all the way. He took a little bit of a bigger lead than we've seen him take these last couple of pitches. He didn't expect that he'd be thrown over on a third time, and the second Dabovich's leg left the rubber, he was off towards second base. So it was a good throw on the wrong side of the bag, and that's going to result in the runner being pushed into scoring position. And what did I say, Colin? They get a guy on base, he steals second, and then they have to find a way to bring him around to score. They've done the hard part. Let's see whether or not they can find a way to bring him across home and take a 1-0 lead here over Chatham.
So it's a 1-2 count to Acton, the only guy in the Mariners lineup that's been drafted so far, as that pitch misses low. Of course, you got Daniel Cabrera on the bench, who was drafted out of high school by the Padres. Acton taken in the 39th round back in 2018 by Detroit.
Yeah, and he had a chance to sign, but an interesting story on Corey Acton. He was actually pulled out by pretty much everybody that he respects the opinion of. His parents, his advisor, his coaches, they all told him he needed to focus up on school.
And Acton swings and misses strike 3. The ball gets away. Noisy goes to third, and the throw almost goes up the line, but able to reel it in is first baseman Paxton Wallace. He touches first, route number 2, but meanwhile Dylan Noisy advances to third with 2 away, and Chris Lanzilli coming to the plate.
Yep, and a big at bat coming up here for Chris Lanzilli is, again, the go-ahead run just 90 feet away. I know it's early here, but we've seen how low-scoring these games can be. Harwich not scoring a single run during their first game with this Chatham squad, and Chatham not scoring in Game 3. So every run is crucial here, and in two teams with excellent pitching staffs, runs are going to come at a premium.
Dabovich had 6 strikeouts in 6 innings against Harwich this season coming into today, and he's already got 4 in an inning and 2/3 as the first pitch is fouled off by Chris Lanzilli.
Yeah, Dabovich has just been absolutely on fire, and even the ball that he gave up to Noisy wasn't hit all that hard. It was more or less a ball that he was going to just have to run out of first base. So the only hit he's given up has been an infield single, and he's looking to close out a really good second inning here.
The 0-1 is swung on and missed, and Lanzilli finds himself behind 0-2.
Yeah, once again, just keeping every single pitch down. We haven't seen him challenge anybody with a high fastball. He's not going to go that route, and Harwich so far has not been the beneficiary of that pitching style.
Noisy with a decent lead off third. Arenas playing behind the bag, not keeping him on. The 0-2 is lined out towards right center field. That's going to be a base hit. It's an RBI single for Chris Lanzilli, and the Mariners take a 1-0 lead early against Chatham Anglers.
Yeah, just an excellent job there of opposite field hitting, and you could tell Lanzilli wasn't trying to kill that baseball. He was just going to find a way to try to straighten his bat out a little bit and find a way to put that thing into the opposite field. He drops it right into the gap for a hit, and that'll score a run here. So again, we'll see whether or not Harwich can hold this lead now that they're up. And I mean, I'll tell you what, Harwich is, when they've struck first this year, it has been very good. They've lost only 6 games. 3 of those have come against a very scrappy Orleans Firebird squad.
So the first pitch to Mike Rothenberg's hit out towards left field, and back to make the play is Jamal O'Gwynn for out number 3, but not before the Mariners strike first. It's an RBI single for Chris Lanzilli. We're through 1.5 from Veterans Field. Harwich 1, Chatham 0. You're listening to Harwich Mariners Baseball on the Mariners Radio Network. Welcome back to Veterans Field. 1-0 after 1.5. The Mariners lead. An interesting development as Jared Weatherby just coming in for the first inning. His night is done. In to relieve him is Carson Seymour. And Tyler, it's something we haven't really seen much of this season across the Cape, but we've seen a starter used for the first time for the Harwich Mariners in terms of a guy just going the first inning, and then that's it.
It is opener season here at Chatham Anglers, or at Chatham Park, and yeah, Harwich going to throw Weatherby for just 1 inning, and now comes the guy who we all thought was going to start today. He was listed as the official starter, but then a last-minute change to go to Weatherby. So here comes Carson Seymour. He was the guy who was in line to start today out of the 7-man rotation, one of the few guys who both hadn't started over the past week and also is not in the All-Star game, as both Connor Jacob Polish and then a couple of other guys not available as well, with Connor McCullough going to the All-Star game as well. So for Carson Seymour this year, 19 2/3 of an innings pitched. He has given up 14 hits, 12 walks to 14 strikeouts this year, and so far he is 0-2 as a starter. Not that pitcher wins really mean a whole lot. The most important number is that 3.66 ERA. So he's done a pretty good job when he's gotten run support, which has not been always, but here he'll have an opportunity to pitch with a one-run lead, and we'll see whether or not he can hold it.
Opponent's only hitting 194 against Seymour this season, so he hasn't gotten hit too hard despite the 3.66 ERA, which still is very solid for this Harwich Mariners staff, and will be the 4, 5, and 6 hitters due up for Chatham, and in steps the Wichita State product, Paxton Wallace.
Wichita State, number 13, Paxton Wallace.
Wallace owns the only home run for the Chatham Anglers against Harwich this season, coming right here at Veterans Field. And the first pitch by Carson Seymour is over for a strike.
Yep, and Seymour has more of that traditional starter stuff that we're used to seeing in terms of pitches thrown. pretty typical, just 2 pitches, a fastball, and he's been developing a curveball as well.
Ground ball to the left side, fielded cleanly by Noisy. The long throw across the diamond is in plenty of time, so just
Now
2
batting
pitches for
Chatham,
Carson
the
Seymour, and he's
left
already
fielder for the
retired his first
University of
batter.
Southern California. Number 2, Jamal
So
O'Gwen.
in steps Jamal O'Gwen, who was actually a late entry into this game, as originally the left fielder that was projected to play this afternoon was Colin Hall. Instead, Jamal O'Gwen gets a late opportunity to play in this one, and he'll bat 5th and take the first pitch over for a called strike. O'Gwen hitting .272 on the season, 3 home runs, 18 runs batted in. And he gets back-to-back breaking balls, but this one just misses.
And against the lefty in Weatherby, I mean, it was a very righty-heavy lineup that was put out here by Chatham today. Now they're going to have to face off against a right-hander in Carson Seymour, and don't think we're going to see, as this pitch is fouled away, a whole lot of substitutions. They're probably going to stick with more or less the guys that they have out there, but this could really work to Harwich's advantage. We haven't seen Steve Angler do this a whole lot this season. Actually, we've never seen him do it this season, but kind of using Weatherby as the opener, and here comes Seymour.
Another pitch fouled off there by O'Gwen, and O'Gwen is hitting .480 this season against left-handed pitching, so that's probably why he was put in at the last second. Compared to righties, he is hitting just .194. So kind of a platoon guy, but he hits this one out towards right field, and that's going to drop in for a base hit. So despite the numbers, Jamal O'Gwen's able to reach base via a one-out single.
Yep, it's a big start to the inning here for the Chatham Anglers, and here comes Brady Smith. I mean, for Jamal O'Gwen, a guy that, again, he's going to be hit. He's going to get his no matter whether he's pitching or hitting against a righty or a lefty. So he gets the job done and sets the table here. We'll see whether or not the guys in the bottom part of the lineup here can find a way to bring him across and tie this one up.
So here's Brady Smith, who, again, another guy who hits lefties pretty well, but has ended up finding himself against a right-handed pitcher, and that pitch will miss for a ball. 348 against lefties compared to just 273 against righties, albeit that's still a pretty respectable number for the DH out of Florida. Decent lead from O'Gwen off first. And the 1-0 is fouled right over towards the Mariners' dugout. Luckily, it misses everyone standing up on the railing and catches the netting.
Yeah, everybody has to kind of have the heads up here at all of these fields, really. There's not a completely covered dugout anywhere in the league, but just got to have your head on a swivel there. And fortunately, as you mentioned, nobody takes a shot there for Harwich, so it'll be a 1-1 count here.
Pretty extensive netting, though, going beyond both dugouts to prevent spectators from getting hit, as that ball is flied out towards center field, and an easy play for Max Marshak. O'Gwen retreats to first. There are now 2 out in the inning.
And you got to think, if Harwich can find a way to come and get a victory here today on the road against the Chatham team that sits in the top of the standings in the East, and they can also extend a 3-game winning streak to a 4-game winning streak, you really like their chances going forward. They'll have a day to rest with the All-Star game, and then they'll come back and play a game at Katuitt, and then it'll be a couple with Orleans, and you know you're in the final stretch of the season, but really the kind of momentum that they could take out of the All-Star break with a 4-game winning streak and a day off could be absolutely huge for this team.
So from one Florida school to another, in steps Jorge Arenas out of Stetson University. And he takes first pitch just outside for a ball.
Yeah, and more importantly, for as good as O'Gwen has hit this season, not a ton of speed for him over there at first base compared to some other guys on the Chatham roster. So he's stayed put. Nobody in scoring position here. Even if Jorge Arenas can find his way on, it'll be up to Kendrick Kalilu to try to drive him in.
267 batting average for Arenas on the season. And he hits this ball on the ground towards third. It's off the glove of Acton. It's going to be a fair ball. And it looks like it might have rolled out of play as the hands go up on Chris Galland. And that will hold the runner at third. It's going to be a ground rule double for Jorge Arenas, and we'll see if they could go ahead and give him the hit in that one, and it looks like they do.
And oh boy, and again, I'm not 100% sure about that, but if it doesn't go off of Acton's glove, I think that ball might be foul. So, you know, it would have just been another pitch coming to Jorge Arenas. Instead, it'll be a ground rule double, and now they've got 2 guys in scoring position here for Kendrick Kalilu.
So that's the 5th double of the season for Jorge Arenas, and with 2 in scoring position, let's see if Kalilu can go ahead and maybe give his team the lead on a base hit. Kalilu, the 30th round selection in the 2018 draft for the St. Louis Cardinals, and that pitch is rolled over and hit foul off to third.
And even if it just doesn't go off the glove of Acton, even if that ball stays fair, I think Gallen runs it down, and you're probably looking at first and second. But because it goes off of his glove the way that it did, and fortunately there is an area over here where the ball can't go past or it's out of play, that could have been even more disastrous for Harwich, as in certain other stadiums that probably would have scored at least one run.
The 0-1 is swung on a miss for strike 2. Kendrick Callilou from the University of Florida, teammate of the third baseman for Harwich, Corey Acton, and the man standing on third for the Chatham Anglers. Actually, pardon me, Brady Smith is actually retired via fly ball, so not quite, as there's a line drive that's caught by his teammate. Corey Acton makes the play, and that might have saved a run, so Acton makes up for the double that was given up, but Chatham Anglers leave 2 on after 2 full. Harwich Mariners lead it 1-0. You're listening to Harwich Mariners Baseball on the Mariners Radio Network.
It's Coast.
Top of the third, 1-0 lead for the Harwich Mariners. Casey alongside Tyler Henry bring you coverage of this beautiful Saturday afternoon of baseball. A little bit on the hotter side, but things cooling off significantly as we enter night.
Yeah, right now it's just 77 degrees here in Chatham, so things cooling down considerably. But yeah, it had been really, really hot here, uncharacteristically so for the Cape League, as the first pitch will miss high and outside to Hal Hughes, another guy who has yet to pick up a hit against the Chatham Anglers. 3 guys in the lineup came into this game with 0 hits against them. Dylan Noisy picked up his first back in the second.
The pitch misses to Hughes, so he's ahead in the count 2-0, and Hal Hughes with another multi-hit game yesterday. 2 for 4 with a run scored. He was one of 5 guys to come around that big 7th inning for the Mariners. A statement win over the YD Red Sox. 2-0 is up and away.
And we really see Dabovich going more to the fastball here in this inning, and he's got a good one. I mean, he can touch 98 miles an hour. It's going to come in anywhere between 94 and 97, and he supplements it with a changeup, a curveball, and a slider. So we saw him really go to the off-speed a lot early on in this game, and it seems like lately he started to pick up more and more on the fastballs to kind of keep more things up in the zone here to the bottom part of the lineup. We'll see whether or not he sticks with that as he flips the book and heads back to the top after this at-bat.
And 3-0 just misses for ball 4, and Hughes was a little surprised by that one. It seemed like he took a step and then expected to be called back, but it never happened. It's a 4-pitch walk to lead off the inning to the 9-hole for R.J. Dabovich.
Yeah, that'll be just the first walk of the day and just the third base runner that is reached. So here comes Max Marshak with a golden opportunity, and plenty of speed for Hal Hughes over there at first base. We've seen this all season long. We'll see whether or not they can find a way to drive him in, as once again they will have a runner on base, this time with nobody out as opposed to the one out when they got Dylan Noisy on back in the last inning.
First pitch to Marshak, he shows bunt, and it is called for a strike 1. And for Chatham, they haven't played a full game until yesterday. They hadn't played a full game until since Tuesday, so they went a couple of games without going the scheduled distance and including a rainout as well. So it's been a bit of a rough week weather-wise and situationally for the Anglers, and the 0-1 is swung on a miss, so Marshak falls behind 0-2.
And actually, it was 2 rainouts for the Chatham Anglers. And again, those days, it wasn't like it was raining throughout the beginning of the day and nobody showed up to the ballpark. They dressed out, the players showed up, everybody was ready, and then the game was called, similar to what Harwich had happened at Orleans. So, really just a couple of tough breaks here for a Chatham squad that's looking to maintain their momentum, but they hadn't been able to play a lot of sustained baseball.
The 0-2 is in for a called strike 3, and Marshak goes down looking. That is strikeout number 5 for R.J. Davovich.
Number 36,
and there's
Chris
the
Gallen.
first out of the inning. And for Chatham, they had a 3-game winning streak before all those rainouts, so you wonder if that might have messed with their momentum a little bit.
Yeah, it certainly has. I mean, it probably has. You got to think. You take momentum. It's called momentum for a reason. It has to be sustained over a period of days. And when you're just not playing full games, or when the games you're playing are shortened, it can really end up kind of hurting you in terms of what you can and can't do. So they've slowed down a bit here. They took the loss to Brewster yesterday, and here they find themselves behind by a run as the first pitch to Chris Gallen will miss low for ball 1. Back to that strikeout pitch on Max Marshak. That was a nasty curveball. That thing had a lot of bite on it, and Marshak never really saw it coming. He becomes the 5th different Harwich Mariner to strike out today.
So Galland, who also struck out back in the first, looking to improve the plate this time, and with a 1-0 count, he rips one into left field, and that's going to fall for a base hit. Hal Hughes advances to second, takes a pretty wide turn. Throw back in from Jamal O'Gwyn will chase him back to second, and now there are 2 aboard with 1 away, and Joey Weimer coming to the plate.
And it's just been slow, sustained hitting for Harwich. That's what they've been doing over the last couple of games. It's just been find a way to get a guy on base, find a way to get another guy on base, rinse, repeat, and just keep doing that. Couple of singles here for them so far. It's their 4th hit of the day, and then of course Hal Hughes getting on via the walk. So here comes Joey Weimer, who today, like Chris Gallen, will enter his second at bat, 0 for 1 with a strikeout. Looking to improve on that here against R.J. Davovich, and again, Weimer a lot of speed, going to be a tough guy to double off. So worst case scenario, you get the feeling if he does find a way to get out on the ground out, it'll probably at least advance the runner up 90 feet and put another runner 90 feet away from scoring.
First pitch to Weimer, a check swing. They appeal down to first, and Weimer does hold up for Chris Gallen. That's now a 5-game hitting streak. It'd be 6 if you counted the Katuitt game that was abandoned. He also had a hit in that game, but regardless, he's been arguably the hottest hitter in this entire Mariners lineup, and one of the guys you can make a case for, too, is the guy at the plate, Weimer, as Davovich will step off and recollect his thoughts.
Yep, so for Joey Weimer, a big-time opportunity coming up here to maybe drive a few more runs in. And we'll see whether he can cash in. He's been seeing the ball really well over the past couple of weeks.
The 1-0 from Davovich is on the outside corner for a strike, and despite not having a hit in yesterday's game, went 0 for 3, but he also walked in a run, so was able to pick up an RBI. The 9-4 victory over the YD Red Sox. So it's a 1-1 count. Hughes at second, Gallen at first. And the pitch will miss low.
And typically the guys have been getting their nicknames early on in the season, but Joey Weimer got one here late, actually coming in today. It's the Cincinnati Psycho. And when you look at the way he swings the bat, you can kind of see why it's justified. He really, I mean, it looks like he's trying to hurt the baseball every time he comes up. He's not just trying to get his way on base, he's trying to smash it, and it's worked for him so far. You mentioned the only guy on the roster hitting over 300.
And he takes a pitch on the outside corner for a strike, and Davovich fighting back here. The crowd getting into it a little bit.
Yeah, a lot of movement on these off-speed pitches. Both the changeup and the curveball have been working really well for him so far today, and we'll see whether or not he tries to buckle the knees of Joey Weimer with one of those, although I will say Weimer's biggest pitch that he's been susceptible to this year seems to have been the high fastball. He really likes chasing pitches up and hard.
2-2 is rolled over foul off to the left.
Of course, R.J. Davovich did suffer an arm injury at USC during the 2019 campaign, and he missed 3 weeks before returning in April. So a guy that did have a couple of opportunities to kind of rehab a little bit and come back stronger. It seems like he's been very good here in the Cape Cod Baseball League in 2019, and part of the reason why he's been so effective here for this Chatham squad.
2 balls, 2 strikes, 1 away. And Davovich airmails the throw way over the catcher's head, and both runners advance. My goodness, that ball looked like a breaking ball that slipped, and it goes all the way to the backstop as Garza has to go retrieve it. Now all of a sudden, it's a golden RBI chance for Joey Weimer.
Yeah, you said it, Colin, and it looked like he was trying to get him to chase something up there, but just completely lost his handle on that. So it's going to be two guys in scoring position here. Chatham had this opportunity in the second inning. Harwich has it now here in their half of the third, and a big opportunity with one away to drive in at least one of these runs for Weimer. Now all you have to do is put one in the outfield and let Hal Hughes do the rest.
A 3-2 is chopped foul off Weimer's foot, and he is limping right off that left instep. And as he walks it off, it seems like he'll be all right.
Yeah, never easy. We've seen that a number of times this season, and it seems like, guys, you just take one off the foot, it never feels good. You take a ball that's coming at you somewhere between 70 and 90 miles an hour, and you're going to deflect it straight down onto your feet. That's not going to be a very good feeling the next morning. So Weimer shakes it off, and he'll stand back in, facing a full count here. Dabovich looking to put him out, and really the only thing that doesn't help the team right now is a strikeout. For Joey Weimer, anything else could very well be productive in scoring a run.
14 of Weimer's 15 RBIs on the season coming with runners in scoring position. He's batting .364. The payoff pitch is a breaking ball that misses high for ball 4, so that walk loads the bases for the Mariners, and Mike Ludwig will get an opportunity with one away.
And how about that? The second walk of the day for R.J. Dabovich comes in the same inning as the first walk. So Michael Ludwig's going to come up here with a huge opportunity, and we'll see whether or not he can find a way to bring in at least one more run for Harwich. He'd love to have some run support and a little bit of security here.
So Ludwig struck out swinging to lead off the second. Trying to redeem himself here, and the first pitch he sees from Dabovich misses low. And for Dabovich, his first 2 games, he'd given up just 1 walk in 6 innings. He's already walked 2 in under 3 innings in his 3rd appearance against Harwich.
Yeah, and here comes Saul Garza to have a word with him as they want to approach very carefully here Mike Ludwig. I will say Ludwig has only had 1 at-bat this season with the bases loaded. He's 0 for 1, so looking for his first hit there. He hits .269 with runners in scoring position and .385 with runners in scoring position and 2 outs. So he does thrive on pressure situations. We'll see whether or not he can make the most of this one. Still looking again for his first hit this year with the bases juiced.
And the first pitch is a broken bat, flare out towards left field, and it's going to get down for a base hit. Runner from third, Hughes scores, and everyone else moves up 90 feet, so it's a broken bat RBI single for Mike Ludwig, and the Mariners take a 2-0 lead.
See, Colin, you are allowed to jinx teams both ways. You don't have to jinx Harwich all the time. You can jinx their opponent. But yeah, the first hit of the year with the bases loaded will bring another run across to score here for Harwich, and that's a big one as they did win their last game 2-0. Obviously, you want to get more here with the bases continually loaded for the guy who, again, had a base hit today on an infield single, and then, of course, yesterday went 3 for 4 with 2 home runs. Harwich still looking for the first Grand Slam of the year, and, well, here comes the Chatham manager to have a word with his guy. Maybe just wanting to calm him down, but very possibly this could be the end of the day for R.J. Dabovich.
Urgent care is now available.
Looking towards the bullpen, no throwing at the moment.
Sandwich and Harwich.
We'll see if that changes soon. And Dabovich has only gone 3 innings in both appearances against the Mariners this season, so you wonder if the same thing might be in store here tonight.
Yeah, I mean, the first time it was always going to be a 3-3-3 kind of a thing. They had that set. They knew that's exactly what they wanted. But, yeah, I mean, the last time that he went out, he only got 3 innings in, and here he is struggling in a third. So not a guy that's been very good going deep into games this season for the Chatham Anglers. See whether or not he can straighten things out here against Illinois.
Mariners coming in with a 3-game winning streak, looking to make it 4, as they have the longest winning streak active in the East. Falmouth with the 4-game winning streak in the West, the longest in the entire Cape Cod Baseball League. So here's Dylan Noisy, who had a couple of home runs yesterday. And the first pitch misses up and in for ball 1.
Yeah, Dabovich bringing the heat, and that may have been part of the message given to him by Tom Holliday, the manager of this team. Is, again, I mean, it may have just been, don't be afraid to go out there and pound the strike zone, and don't be afraid to go away from a fastball that has overpowering velocity. So we'll see whether or not he gives one to Noisy, but if you're going to throw heat, you got to make sure you locate. Noisy's already made a couple of guys pay this year.
1-0. Misses inside once again. Some pretty solid speed on the base pass for the Mariners at all 3 bags. Chris Galland, team leader in steals. Joey Weimer, who's got 7 on the season, and Mike Ludwig, the right fielder, who's got decent speed himself, standing on first base.
Yeah, really only a few guys that don't have really good speed this year for this Harwich squad. It seems like 1 through 9 in the lineup, and even the guys standing on the bench today are very, very fast.
2-0 is fouled back. The Mariners as a team with 40 steals on the season. That is in the top half of the entire CCBL, actually tied for 4th with YD. And it's funny looking at those steal statistics, then you see Bourne with 8.
Yeah,
the lowest by a long margin.
There are a lot of players in the Cape Cod Baseball League this year that have more stolen bases than the Bourne Braves do as a team, but when you've been caught stealing 12 times and you've only had 8 stolen bases, I see why they don't want to push their luck.
2-1 to Noisy is hit on the ground towards third. Arenas plays it. He'll throw to second for 1. The return throw is going to be eaten as Houston Morrill does not want to throw it away, so it's going to be a fielder's choice that plates Chris Galland, and the Mariners take a 3-0 lead.
And they'll still have a runner on third base here with 2 away. Really quickly, a final to pass along to you. The Brewster Whitecaps, who were up 5-3 going into the 9th inning, give up several consistent and unanswered runs to YD, who get a walk-off victory by a final score of 6-5. So the Whitecaps fall today in a very big game for the Harwich Mariners. YD takes the win, and Harwich can put some more distance between themselves and the bottom feeders currently in the East.
Mariners with runners to the corners with 2 away. And Corey Acton gets an opportunity. First pitch from Dabovich is low and outside for a ball. We know Noisy's got plenty of speed on first base. We'll see if he decides to swipe another bag. He already has one in this one.
You got to think, I mean, really quickly, it was a pinch hit, base hit for Andrew Eister. So Scott Pickler just continuing to throw guys in there until it works, and it keeps finding a way to work.
Noisy's on the move again, a swing and a miss, and it's going to be no throw this time as Ramirez was covering the bag, but great jump from Noisy over at first base, and Garza decides to keep it. So it's 2 runners in scoring position once again for Corey Acton and a 1-1 count.
I mean, you already know if Joey Weimer was going to be going if that throw actually went down to second base. So they're willing to put another runner in scoring position and focus up on trying to get the out here on Corey Acton.
1-1. And that one's over for strike 2. Acton's first at-bat was, in hindsight, a pretty productive one. He struck out, but the ball got away. He took off for first, and that allowed Dylan Noisy to advance to third with 2 away. And Chris Lanzilli came through with an RBI single.
Acton's actually had 6 at-bats this year with runners in scoring position and 2 outs. He's hitting 167, but 300 with guys in scoring position in general.
And he swings, and it's a lazy fly ball out towards left center field. Caden Polkovich runs it down to retire the side, but the Mariners add to their lead. They pick up 2 more in the top of the third. We're through 2.5 from Veterans Field. Harwich leads 3-0. You're listening to Harwich Mariners Baseball on the Mariners Radio Network. Carson Seymour heads out for his second inning of work as we enter the bottom of the third here at Veterans Field. The Mariners enjoying a 3-0 lead, and Seymour will be greeted by the 9-1 and 2 hitters, Houston Morrill, Caden Polkovich, and Ben Ramirez.
Yep, for the first time he will face all 3 of those guys, and again, Harwich using the opener today as they brought Jared Weatherby in to pitch the first inning and then pulled him after that. So a completely different starter, and the pitching matchup now favors Harwich very heavily with a lot of righties in the lineup here for Chatham. So we'll see whether or not that continues to pay dividends. So far, 2 hits have been taken off the bat, or off the arm, I should say, of Carson Seymour, and looking for more success here are the 9, 1, and 2 hole hitters here for Chatham.
So here's Houston Morrill out of Oklahoma State. First pitch from Seymour is on the outside corner for a strike. Morrill this season with the Chatham Anglers hitting just 111, 4 of 36, so he's really struggled this year, and he finds himself behind 0-2 as he swings through a low fastball.
Quick update from around the league. The Wareham Gaben, after trailing 3-2 to the Bourne Braves, have jumped out to a 7-3 game, so a chance for them to clinch a playoff spot, as once again it's also a chance for Falmouth, who leads the Orleans Firebirds 2-0, to do the same.
0-2 will miss in the dirt for ball 1. Morrill this season, as I mentioned before, just 4 of 36, but he's walked 5 times to go along with 15 strikeouts, and this time he hits one hard on the ground towards short, fielded by Noisy. The throw is a little high, but they're going to say his foot came off the bag, and Lanzilli can't believe it, and out comes Steve Englert, and he's going to argue this one. It looked like the throw was in time, and it looked like Lanzilli's foot was on the bag, but first base umpire Bob Bland disagrees.
Well, okay, Lanzilli's foot did come off the bag for about a half a second. Then it immediately came back on top of the bag, and there was no way. I mean, that wasn't even close. We've had plays where we've gone back and checked the replay where it's been close, and we don't have video here, but that wasn't even remotely close as Coach Englert is going to stay out there for a bit. All 3 umpires coming to conference here on the first base side, and they do have the power to overturn this. The home plate umpire had the same view that we did right down the line. He can make the call here, and I think they should, because again, there is no way that Houston Morrill's foot got in there before Lanzilli's did. And a home crowd here for Chatham, you could hear kind of the shock and surprise out of them too. They thought he was as out as we did. So not really sure how Bob Bland missed that one, and there it is. They will correct the call, so Bland will overturn it, and Houston Morrill will be rightfully called out at first. And now here comes Tom Holliday, and he wants an explanation from the umpire as well. So,
as does the first base coach, as they're already discussing things himself. And now the Chatham manager has a couple of words with Ed McAvin, the home plate umpire, and
well, Tom Holliday is talking to the home plate umpire, the first base coach is talking to the first base umpire, and the third base coach is talking to the third base umpire. So you've got 3 different coaches for Chatham talking to 3 different umpires. Tom Holliday now goes over to the first base umpire, and he wants an explanation. But the one person that has no excuse right now is the first base coach for Chatham. I don't have an exact person as to who that is, but he had the angle. He was right there. He knows as well as everybody else in this park did that Lanzilli was safe. I mean, he was that Lanzilli had his foot on the bag before Houston Morrill did, and the argument continues. You wonder how much longer this is going to go on before there's a possible ejection here, although it does appear to be relatively civil right now down the first base line. There's not a whole lot of yelling or screaming or cursing going on, so he's just very upset. But again, I mean, a pretty easy call to make, and all things considered, I don't understand how Tom Holliday is this upset about this on a play that, again, it's not like it was really a bang-bang play either, Colin. It was pretty clear that his foot was on the bag before the runner hit there.
And the discussion is going to continue for now, and Holliday not happy with the first base umpire, as he made a move back towards the dugout, then returns to say a couple more words, and
he's going to do it again. He turns around and continues yelling at Bob Bland over there at first base. He's going to be on some very thin ice here, as now home plate umpire Ed McAvin's going to come over and have a word with him and try to kind of walk him back to the dugout, as one spectator claps here. So yeah, I mean, it's going to be the first out of the inning, all that work for 1 out, but again, it was a right call, and good on the umpiring crew here for making sure they get it right.
The center fielder, number 40.
So now Caden Polkovich, after all of that, will get his second at-bat. He grounded out to third to begin the home half of the first. And the first pitch is in there for a strike to the junior out of Northwest Florida State. A lot of Florida schools represented up and down this Chatham lineup, University of Miami being one of them, and there's a ground ball over towards second, and Hal Hughes is unable to make the play. It gets through him, and so it's a 1-out base runner for the Chatham Anglers.
Yeah, we'll see how they're going to roll that, but that's going to be awfully close. It was a hard hit ball. They're going to go ahead and give a hit to Caden Polkovich, and that's, I think, the 3rd time, Colin, this year that we've seen a base hit given to a ball that was hit to Dylan Noisy. It would have been a tough play, hit to Hal Hughes. It would have been a tough play for him to make, but he just really doesn't look very comfortable playing over there at second base, and it's interesting that they keep putting him out there. I mean, I get you want to bring Noisy in to play short, but he just doesn't look as comfortable out there.
First pitch is fouled off to the left by Ben Ramirez.
I mean, it wouldn't be a stretch for us to say he's probably, and I say probably only because I haven't seen as many games of every other team in the league, probably the best defensive shortstop in the entire league. I mean, you would agree with that, right?
Certainly up there with the man actually at the plate, Ben Ramirez. We've seen him make a ton of great plays in the games between Chatham and Harwich this season as a throw over on Polkovich. But, yeah, you're looking at two of the best shortstops in the entire league. And as you mentioned, Hal Hughes, just the one error on the season over at short. Just came a couple of days ago, so he had a perfect fielding percentage for quite some time. And breaking ball ties up Ben Ramirez in knots. He falls behind 0-2.
It's a nasty curveball, and again, a pitch that he's kind of developing here, one that he hasn't had throughout the entire course of his career, but he's starting to get more and more comfortable with it, and boy, if he can put that much bite on that, that could turn into a pretty deadly strikeout pitch for him, as we'll see what he comes with here on an 0-2 count.
Here it is, and it's going to miss high for a ball as Rothenberg bluffs down to first.
You know, we've talked about this a time or two as well this season, Colin, but with both Connor McCullough, who will be an all-star this year, and also Carson Seymour, two guys that transferred into Kansas State, and their arms are a lot fresher than everybody else on the Cape because they were actually not eligible to pitch during 2019's campaign.
And a cue shot over to third, and as you mentioned, not being eligible might be playing into their advantage. And so far, they've looked pretty good on this Harwich Mariners pitching staff led by pitching coach Jeff Neiman.
Colin, we have an update. Going into the bottom of the ninth, the Hyannis Harbor Hawks have a 6-2 lead. They could win their 7th game of the year tonight. It's possible.
And if they want to keep their slim playoff hopes alive, the fight needs to start now as there's a pitch to Ramirez that misses low and outside 2-2.
I mean, somehow they're still only 13 points behind the Bourne Braves, who have kind of also just left the door hanging wide open for Hyannis to potentially make a late run, but with only 6 victories this year, as another throw over to first base is not in time to catch Caden Polkovich, it's just been kind of slow going for a team that continues to find different and unique ways to lose games. But an opportunity here to maybe pick up their 7th win of the season, and we'll see whether or not they can actually close this one out.
2-2 to Ramirez. A check swing. It's going to get away from Mike Rothenberg, and Polkovich easily makes it up to second base with one away.
So a runner moves into scoring position here. Chatham's had this situation once already back in the second inning with 2 outs. They had runners at second and third, and a line out from Kendrick Callilou ended the inning. So here with one away, they'll have a chance for Ben Ramirez to maybe move his guy over.
Ramirez hitting a cool .305 against right-handed pitching this season. The home run and 9 runs batted in, so he's been one of the best guys in their lineup when it comes to facing righties, the other being the man on second base and Caden Polkovich, who's hit .321 against him. The 3-2, and it gets away from Rothenberg once again and goes to the backstop, and Polkovich will hold at third. Meanwhile, Ramirez heads down to first with a walk. All of a sudden, the Chatham Anglers threatening with runners to the corners and 1 down.
And those balls were both put in just the least convenient spot possible for Rothenberg to find a way to get a glove on as it kind of rolled up off his chest protector. So runners at the corners here, another golden opportunity for Chatham, as with just 1 away, the double play will be in play with Ben Ramirez on first, but with Saul Garza up at the dish, it's going to be tough. And now a meeting at the mound as Coach Englert's going to come out and have a word with Carson Seymour.
Infield will presumably be a double play depth with runners at the corners, 1 away, and Garza at the plate, not exactly the fastest guy in the world. Although,
Cape Cod Coca-Cola.
No, he doesn't have any steals on the season. Just checking to make sure in a short period of time, but good opportunity for Chatham to get on the board. Still a lot of baseball to be played left in this one, and it's going to be interesting to see how the Mariners manage their bullpen in this with the starter Weatherby, with the opener Weatherby, and then followed by a traditional starting pitcher in Carson Seymour.
Well, not only that, but the lack of arms that they have in the bullpen because of who all they have going into the All-Star game tomorrow, and we'll get into that here in just a minute, but first pitch is fouled back. Let's take a look at everybody the Harwich Mariners have at their disposal. Connor Seckler pitched yesterday. Jacob Polish will be in the All-Star game. Antonio Menendez got the start yesterday. Seymour's in there right now. Jordan Butler might be available. Connor McCullough is an All-Star, unavailable. Nick Swalk pitched a few days ago. Joe Boyle's an All-Star, he's unavailable. Weatherby came in to start today's game. Will Heflin, unavailable, All-Star. Tommy Vale, potentially available today. Cam Bauman pitched a few days ago. Nick Stewart pitched yesterday. And then Blake Espinal. So really you only have 3 arms that you could potentially bring in as another ball is fouled back to the Harwich dugout, and only 2 more available for today. So Harwich is at a bit of a loss right now, and they're really going to need this all-star break. They need a long outing here from Carson Seymour. That much is pretty apparent.
So Garza with an 0-2 count. Ben Ramirez just taken off on that last pitch. He will take his lead off at first once again with Caden Polkovich over at third. The 0-2 is breaking ball, missing low and outside.
And that would be another big advantage here for the Chatham Anglers is with the speed of Ben Ramirez, if he can move his way up to second base, that takes the double play out of play, and then Harwich would have to find another way to pick up the out. But we'll see whether or not they risk sending him again. A pretty good arm by Mike Rothenberg, although he might not be interested in throwing down to second base with a runner on third.
Could very well see a snap throw to third. Alternatively, if they want to try and see if Polkovich is caught a little too far off third on his secondary lead. But with the 1-2, Seymour comes set. And the pitch, runner going. Ball's in the dirt. A nice stop by Rothenberg, and Ramirez will take second easily, but could have very well easily been the first run of the game for the Chatham Anglers had Rothenberg not been able to backhand it.
Yeah, I think the other big thing that's become clear here, Harwich is going to have to keep the offense up as they do lead it 3-0, but you get the feeling they're going to want to have at least 5 runs on the day if they're going to feel comfortable going up against this Chatham lineup and how good they've been this season.
2 balls, 2 strikes. Seymour's pitch is ground ball up the middle. That'll score a run. Hughes plays it easily. Throw on to first is in time, so it's going to be an RBI ground out for Saul Garza as Caden Polkovich scores. It's now 3-1 Harwich.
Yep, and that'll also move Ben Ramirez up to third, so another runner just 90 feet away here as Paxton Wallace takes his at bat, but yeah, I mean, if that steal turns into a pretty big play when you consider that ball had double play written all over it. Had the runner been at first base, it kind of rolled up off the pitcher's mound and then bounced into the glove of Hal Hughes. But nonetheless, it'll be 2 away here for Paxton Wallace. Still a 2-run lead for the Mariners, needing to close out this inning without letting another run score.
And the first pitch will miss low as Wallace this season hitting 2 for 7 against Harwich Mariners pitching, but does have a home run and 2 RBIs, that one coming all the way back in the 3rd game of the season. The 1-0 is upstairs.
Yeah, Wallace, another guy that kind of started off hot and then has since cooled down here for the Chatham Anglers. Seems like that's been the case for a lot of guys, but when you come out and you put up a really good team ERA, as this team has done, with just a 3.47 ERA on the year, you can kind of afford to have your offense go a little lackluster on you.
There's an opposite field swing out towards right field for a base hit. In comes Ben Ramirez, and it's an RBI single for Paxton Wallace, and the Chatham Anglers are able to bring back a couple of runs in out trail only by 1.
Yep, there it was. It was a challenged fastball there. Trying to blow one by him was Carson Seymour, and he left it inside. That's the perfect spot to do that on, but you know, Paxton Wallace, despite getting jammed, still found a way to push that thing to the opposite field, and that is going to result in another RBI, and the lead has been cut to just 1 here for Harwich here in the 3rd.
Wallace picks up his 7th RBI of the season, and it's actually going to be pinch run for, so that's going to be it for Paxton Wallace, as Tyler Dones will pinch run for him.
Virginia University, number 47.
So an interesting decision here
Tyler
for
Dones.
Coach Holliday, but wants to get some guys some rest, I guess, with the All-Star game and break coming up.
Yep, and we'll see whether or not Tyler Dones stays in. We've seen him used as a pinch runner before for the Chatham Anglers here against Harwich. We'll see whether or not it pays off, as he has got plenty of speed, and they might want to try to utilize him to find a way home.
There's a ground ball up the middle. That one is through for a base hit. Jamal O'Gwyn able to make some solid contact, and that'll put runners at first and second with 2 outs in the inning. So Chatham finally getting the offense going, as it took till their 2nd inning against Carson Seymour.
Yep, and here comes Brady Smith. You got to think this is a Chatham team that is probably not too happy about the way Harwich used the opener today, as they kind of had a last-minute adjustment to throw Weatherby in there, and then they throw Carson Seymour, who was supposed to be the starter in the first place. So, you know, everybody's coming up there with a bat in their hand and a bit of a chip on their shoulder today, and it's kind of worked to the advantage of Chatham here, as they're just 1 run away from potentially going back on top here in this ballgame.
2 on, 2 out. First pitch to Smith misses low and outside. Brady Smith flew out to center back in the 2nd.
And Colin, I think it's worth noting, in addition to all of that, there have only been 2 games out of the last 9 days where Harwich and Brewster had a different result. One of those games was the game where Harwich beat the Brewster Whitecaps. The other one, Harwich picked up a win and Brewster picked up a loss. But aside from that, they've had the same result every day. And, well, Harwich knows what happened to Chatham today, or Brewster.
It's a ground ball to third. The throw from Acton in plenty of time, and that will end the inning. But the Chatham Anglers, I should say, able to pick up a couple of runs, and all of a sudden the Mariners just lead it 3-2. When we come back, we'll bring in the top of the fourth inning. You're listening to Harwich Mariners Baseball on the Mariners Radio Network. Three to two, the Mariners lead the Chatham A's after 3 innings. And quick reminder, this game is brought to you in part by Curry College. Earn a bachelor's or master's degree, complete a certificate, or take a single course through the Division of Continuing Education and Graduate Studies at Curry College. Classes run days, evenings, and weekends in Milton and Plymouth. To learn more about programs in business, criminal justice, education, nursing, and more, visit curry.edu.
So it'll be a new pitcher coming into the game here for the Chatham Anglers. It'll be Jeremy Wu Yelland. And a quick defensive update as Alex Terrell has taken over at first base in place of Paxton Wallace. So they will go all the way through as he will be the new first baseman. But again, it'll be Jeremy Wu Yelland taking over on the hill. 17 1/3 for him so far this season. And he's given up 14 hits, just 4 runs, 3 of them earned. And he has struck out 18 guys compared to only 8 walks. First guy he'll face off against will be, for the Harwich Mariners, Chris Lanzilli, who reached on a single back in the second inning, and he was able to come across with an RBI there. Here he will take this one high in the air. That'll chase out into the Bermuda Triangle in right center field. Coming in is the center fielder, Polkovich, and he'll make the catch for out number 1.
And we'll see if Wu Yelland can repeat the success he had the last time he faced the Harwich Mariners, as he came in that 2-0 defeat at White House Field the last time these two teams played, and pitched pretty well after coming in. And unfortunately for him, he didn't get too much run support, so it was kind of just a eating innings situation and keeping the game close.
So the first pitch is on its way to Mike Rothenberg. That'll miss low here, as Wu Yelland has had mixed success this season, so you mentioned Colin, and for him this year, a 1.55 ERA, really good out of the University of Miami, or University of Hawaii rather. And he'll get another high fly ball. This one taken over towards the foul side, and that's going to come up right by us as it drops back into the stands. Everybody kind of lost it there for a minute as you kind of saw Arenas chase it over, and the kid gets the ball over here. So the crowd getting into it a little bit here, but on Mike Rothenberg, it'll be a 1-1 count. Jeremy Wu Yelland, a guy that pitches, we noticed Colin back in that first game, to contact, and he's a fly ball pitcher, which can be a dangerous proposition when you have as much power in the lineup as Harwich does. Here's another pop-up. This one's taken up by the net. The catcher will call everybody off, and he'll squeeze it. Does Saul Garza for out number 2.
Yep, so far an efficient start for Wu Yelland, as he's gotten Mariners to swing at pretty much everything he's thrown them.
Second baseman.
And bottom of the lineup not doing as well as they did the first time they came up, as they were combined 1 for 2 with a single, a walk, and an RBI. So see if Hal Hughes can buck that trend here with 2 away.
Yep, Hughes did reach on the walk back in the 3rd inning. He comes up here for his second at bat. Wu Yelland's first pitch is on its way, and the lefty will have the pitch in there for strike 1, as squaring around the bunt and pulling it back was Hal Hughes. So with an 0-1 count, Hal Hughes will dig in again. Again, Chatham has brought the game back within one. Harwich leading by 3 at one point. It was a 3-0 game, but a 2-run third inning for the Chatham Anglers, and Harwich looking to pad some more insurance on it as Hughes will swing and miss at a fastball up for strike 2.
Boy, this place really fills up. We're here in the 4th inning, and it seems like it's a completely packed house now. Fans up and down both baselines and jam-packed right behind home plate in the bleachers.
Well, you can tell why the two of the best fan bases here in the league is this one misses low and inside, and that's part of why Orleans and Chatham have always had that big rivalry. You got the massive hill at Orleans, and then here, of course, the stands are packed. You got a hill out there beyond the right field fence, so always a big rivalry, and part of the reason why they have two of the better fan bases here, two of the more long-tenured teams in the Cape Cod Baseball League. With a 1-2 count, Wu Yellen kicks and fires. That one's going to be taken high in the air. Another fly ball. This one will chase out into center field. Once again coming in to make the catch is Caden Polkovich, and it's a 1-2-3 inning for Jeremy Wu Yellen. We go to the home half of the 4th. After this, you're listening to Harwich Baseball. They lead at 3-2 here on the Harwich Mariners Radio Network. Welcome back to Veterans Field here in Chatham, Massachusetts. Tyler Henry alongside Colin Casey as we go here to the home half of the 4th inning. And due up here for the Chatham Anglers, it will be 7, 8, and 9 as Jorge Arenas will come up, then Kendrick Calliloo and Houston Morrill. Another final that passed your way. It was another victory here for the Hyannis Harbor Hawks as they get the win 6-2 over the Catuit Kettleers, and Catuit trying to win the Social Media Pettiness Award as they post nothing you can do when the Hawks are hot. So a 6-2 victory in that one for Hyannis. And Catuit, the only team in the league so far to clinch a playoff spot, remains in first place in the West, at least for the time being. Wareham and Falmouth could still join them, but here it's a 3-2 game. The Harwich Mariners leading, and back out there for another inning here for the Mariners is Carson Seymour. First pitch he throws home will miss in the dirt, and that's going to be ball 1 delivered to Jorge Arenas.
Arenas with that double back in the 2nd inning. Ended up being stranded on base, but it was kind of the spark that Chatham needed, and they ended up coming through the following inning and bringing home a pair of runs.
This one's going to be hit high in the air. That'll chase Hal Hughes back over just behind his spot at second base, and he will glove it for out number 1.
Yep. Climbing the ladder there was Seymour. He had a shaky inning, to say the very least, in the 3rd, but much needed first out, first batter he faces in inning number 4, and let's see if he can, like Jeremy Wu Yellen, work through the bottom of the order cleanly.
It's going to be a tough task, but he has faced these guys before. Kendrick Calliloo lined out to end the 2nd inning. First pitch he sees is a fastball low, and then, of course, Houston Morrill coming in and grounding out back in the 3rd. So a couple of guys that Carson Seymour's seen pretty well today, and he'll face them for a second time as he has no 1 count here on Kendrick Calliloo. He'll kick and fire, and that one is going to miss a mile high for ball 1.
Calliloo, one of 2 guys in this Anglers lineup drafted, but you look at their pitching staff, and they've got about 5 or 6 guys that have been taken in the draft. It's pretty impressive to see how much MLB talent or scouted talent that they have, as that pitch will miss just inside.
Yep, Chatham has a way of getting some of the better players in the league, and that's one thing that we've talked about throughout the course of the season. It doesn't matter, there's not a draft for the Cape Cod Baseball League. It's entirely based on recruiting, so you got to find a way to bring in the talent, and Chatham has certainly done that as this pitch misses low, but Kendrick Calliloo tried to break out the 9-iron. Will let that roll back to the backstop. He swings through it as the Count is 2-2 here. Sun starting to set back in the background here at picturesque image here at Veterans Field in Chatham. The 2-2 is on its way. Swing and a miss. Strike 3. Kendrick Kalilu down on strikes for the second out of the inning. And that will bring up Houston Morrill.
Much cleaner start for Carson Seymour. It is against the bottom of the lineup, but again, went 1 for 3 the last time around, so it's important that he's been able to bounce back and learn from his mistake as he is able to get Arenas to pop out. Now a strikeout for Kalilu, so let's see if he can finish off the inning 1-2-3.
He had given up 5 hits and a walk, as this one is going to be fouled away by Houston Morrill, but here in the 4th inning he seems to have calmed down. He got the fly out back to Jorge Arenas, and then Kendrick Kalilu with the strikeout. So a 1-0 count here on Houston Morrill. Morrill digging in from the left side, another righty here in the lineup, facing off against the righty in Seymour, as Harwich kind of had the lineup for Chatham set around the fact that Jared Weatherby was going to be the starter, then pulled him after just 1 inning. So with a 1-1 count, Seymour from the windup will kick in, deliver, and that'll miss low and away for ball 2.
Yeah, it would have been hard to see Weatherby going any further than I'd say 2 innings, given the fact that he hasn't really done it all summer long. So not too surprised to see him go after 1, but apparently Chatham is.
Another curveball delivered in here by Carson Seymour. That one's going to be in there for, actually they're going to say it just misses. So the count is even here at 2-2. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs here in the home half of the 4th. Chatham trying to find a way to come back in this one. They trail by 1. Little half-hearted excuse me swing by Houston Morrill. And he will check that one back to the backstop. Count stays 2-2. Almost forgot this is one of the few stadiums in the league where we do have the luxury of a radar gun. As this one's delivered in by Seymour, and that will be strike 3. Swinging through it down and away is Houston Morrill. So back-to-back strikeouts to end a 1-2-3 inning here for Carson Seymour, and that'll do it. We go to the 5th inning. Harwich looking to pat a few more runs on when we come back here on the Harwich Mariners YouTube Network. Welcome back to Veterans Field here in Chatham. Tyler Henry alongside Colin Casey. The Harwich Mariners coming up to bat here in the 5th inning, and they lead at 3-2. And of course, tomorrow there won't be a typical Cape Cod baseball game. It'll be the All-Star break. So the All-Star game coming this season at Eldridge Park, and you can catch 9 different Harwich Mariners, the most of any team in the East at that one. Is Nico Cavanas, Christian Fedko, Daniel Cabrera are the starters in the East in the field as Max Marshak takes a pitch for ball 1. Reserves in the field will be Joey Weimer and Chris Gallen, and pitchers Jacob Polish, Connor McCullough, Joe Boyle, and Will Heflin. And Colin, with all this talent, we all wondered, when Harwich's numbers were going to catch up in terms of the win column. It seems like that's been lately. As the next pitch is going to be delivered, and that will miss high and away for ball 2.
Yeah, it certainly has, and it really just has to do with the offense. We know that they've struggled, especially in the month of June, but ever since that first week of July or so, things have started to slowly get better and better, and we've seen a couple of huge offensive outbursts over the last week or so from Harwich.
Including a couple that have given the Mariners a 3-game winning streak, trying to make it 4 here. As this pitch will miss high and outside from Jeremy Wu Yelland, and all of a sudden it's a 3-0 count to Max Marshak. The one thing he can't do is put him on base without making him earn it. Marshak, probably the fastest guy on the Harwich Mariners roster. So Wu Yelland, a big sigh, he'll kick and deliver, and that will miss high. So it's a 4-pitch walk to start the inning to the fastest guy on the Mariners roster, and maybe one of the fastest guys in the league.
Yeah, and you mentioned, Tyler, that they've been scoring over this winning streak, and They're actually trying to make it 5 games in a row with 4 more runs, and they've won 4 of them. The only one they didn't win was the game that they were up 4-1 in against YD, and that 4-run bottom of the 8th inning kind of changed things. So they're 1 away from continuing that streak.
And that game almost felt like almost more of a fluke, too. I mean, it was a wild set of circumstances as Chris Gallen will stand in and take a first pitch called for strike 1. They had the lead almost the entire way. YD did score first in that game, then Harwich battled back. They took a 4-1 lead into the latter innings, and they threw 2 of their best relievers in Jared Weatherby and Joe Boyle. But at the end of the day, it's a big swing of the bat as this pitch will miss low, and that's all it took for Harwich to fall in that one. Take that away, though. If that game goes the other way, Harwich rides a 4-game hitting streak coming into this one. You add the Katui game into that, they're on a 5-game winning streak. So a lot of crazy circumstances, but Harwich just kind of fought through all of it, and here they look to expand things as Gallen hits a little chopper. This is going to be the third big-time throw. How about that? They try to go back to second. Coming in was Jorge Arenas. He had to charge barehand and then fire to first base, and narrowly they're going to get Chris Galland at first, but that will move the runner up into scoring position as Max Marshak takes second here for Joey Weimer.
Yeah, and I mentioned, I think, in one of the previous meetings between these two teams, and that is that I think that Chatham is one of the best defensive left sides of the infield in the entire league, and right there is a perfect example as Jorge Arenas makes his 3rd Gold Glove caliber play of the game, and he's able to make a barehanded play and throw the runner out at first.
Runner takes off. Marshak headed for third. Throw is going to be off of him. He will stay on the bag. That throw came well short of the bag from Saul Garza, and it actually nails Max Marshak, and time will be called here for him to kind of take a breather. But to his credit, he got an excellent jump there trying to go to third, and Harwich now has another insurance run just 90 feet away for one of their leaders this year in RBIs.
And that is a very fortunate break for the Chatham Aces. Had that ball not hit Max Marshak, despite the backup from Ben Ramirez, I think that ball is getting into left field and Marshak's coming around to score.
Next pitch to Weaver, swing and a miss. That'll even the count here at 1-1 as Jeremy Wu Yelland is now in a bit of some trouble, although his team does trail by 1 already. They're trying to avoid making it 2 here. This would also be one of the first times that Chatham had gone on a 2-game losing skid, as they've just been finding ways to pick up victories seemingly all season long. Here comes the next pitch. That's on its way, and it'll be chopped foul by Weaver, so he falls behind in the count here 1-2. And for the Mariners, it seems like every single game they've been in this season, even the losses that have come by 6 runs or so, actually by 5 runs, they've never been beaten by more than 5. They've been in every single game. I mean, they've never really been in a position where they've been getting blown out. So for the M's, looking to pick up another victory here in a game that they're very much in, leading at 3-2 here in the visitors' half of the 5th, and Weimer will take a ball in off the ground. It's going to be a run scored here as Marshak comes in. The ball gets back to the screen. I thought for a minute that maybe that had gone off the foot of Weimer, but no, and it's going to be a 4-2 lead here for Harwich in the 5th.
Yeah, one of the easier runs batted in for Joey Weimer on the season, as all he had to do was just get out of the way of that ball, and it goes all the way to the backstop. So big insurance run for the Mariners, and just like that, it's 5 games in a row with 4+ runs scored.
And once again, every time Max Marshak finds his way on base, it seems like he finds a way to come across the scores. This pitch will miss high and about a half a mile outside to Joey Weimer, and the count has been worked full here. Jeremy Wu Yellen's going to have to be awfully careful with a full count, and here comes the payoff pitch. That'll miss outside, ball 4. And Harwich has another base runner here with 1 away, and that will bring up Mike Ludwig, who's already got 1 RBI today.
Yep, more speed on the base pass with Joey Weimer, who's got 7 steals on the year, so wouldn't be too surprised if we saw him in motion at some point, and Ludwig was able to come up big with that RBI single back in the 3rd to play the 2nd run of the ball game.
So here comes Ludwig, will swing through the first pitch for strike 1. Wu Yellen keeping things down, and he came in, really got off to a good start with a 1-2-3 inning back in the 4th, but he allows a walk to Max Marshak on 4 pitches, and you put a guy with speed like that on base, he's going to find his way across. So he came in to score, and now the Mariners hold a 2-run lead once again as squaring to bunt and pulling it back is Ludwig. That's going to be in there for strike 2, and he'll have to get defensive here with an 0-2 count.
Yeah, a little bit control issues overall this season for Jeremy Wu Yellen. He's walked now 9 guys, or make it 10 guys this season, and then you saw a couple of wild pitches thrown as well.
Wild throw over to first, trying to keep Joey Weimer close, and plenty of speed for him as well this year. We know what he's done. The 2nd on the team still, I believe, in stolen bases this year. So Weimer definitely a threat to maybe take second, and with a runner on, and with only one away, move into scoring position. Wu Yellen sets, delivers the pitch, and that's going to be in there for strike 3. Chris Galland. Mike Ludwig is down on strikes, and that'll be the second out of the inning.
Number 10,
Yep,
Dylan Noisy.
a couple of strikeouts for Ludwig now, despite having that RBI single, and now it's time to see if the Mariners can continue to hit well with 2 away. They've been doing it a lot over this winning streak, and Dylan Noisy, one of the hottest bats in the lineup, digs in. He's already reached base twice.
Yep, he's reached base twice. He also has an RBI on the day as he drove in a run during the big third inning for Harwich, one where they struck for 1 or 2 runs. So he looks to do it again, and Dylan Noisy over the last couple of days putting together a pretty impressive resume after a pretty slow start to the season. 2 away, Joey Weimer on first. Here comes the pitch, and that'll miss high for ball 1. Make it a 1-0 count on Noisy.
Yeah, just a ton of speed in this lineup in general. I mean, everyone up and down, with the exception, I guess, of Mike Rothenberg, can run a decent amount. So probably the fastest lineup that Coach Englert's put out this season for the Mariners.
Yeah, really the only speed guys that are missing from that lineup are Cabrera and Fedko, and they don't have overwhelming stolen base numbers this season, so even that not a huge concern for the Mariners as this pitch misses high and away. So it'll be a 2-0 count here on Dylan Noisy. He came into today's game 0 for 6 against the Chatham Anglers. So far he's got a hit and an RBI. Looking to pad a few more on here with Joey Weimer up at the dish. Here comes the 2-0 pitch, and that'll miss low and inside, so it's a 3-0 count, and Jeremy Wu Yelland is at risk of putting on another runner here via a walk, and that would bring up Corey Acton, who today is 0 for 2 with a strikeout and a flyout.
Be interesting to see if he walks his third batter of the inning, if someone gets up and starts warming up in the A's bullpen.
Certainly wouldn't be a bad idea. Here comes the 3-0. It's going to miss high and outside again. Another walk here for Jeremy Wu Yelland, and here comes Corey Acton with a big-time opportunity.
22, Corey Acton.
Yeah, Acton's got another opportunity, and we're going to get a mound visit here, but
The 50-50
we'll have to see if Corey Acton can continue the success that he had against Brewster in that last start that he had in the 12-11 victory for the Mariners. He had that RBI double, and University of Florida infielder, the lefty-on-lefty matchup, looking to try to continue that success here tonight.
So a couple of different options as the pitching coach is out there talking to Jeremy Wu Yelland, and again, you wonder how many of these Chatham guys that are going to the All-Star game are also going to be rested today. So, it seems like they have a few of them in. Is Jamal O'Gwyn one that comes to mind? A guy who was not expected to be in the lineup until later on, and he was put in kind of as a lefty-on-lefty specialist.
Corey Acton quietly has hit 300 this season with runners in scoring position, 3 for 10 with a home run.
So we'll see if he can do it again. He smashes one down the third base line, and they're going to rule that, I believe, a foul ball. So everybody will go back. It was off the glove of the diving outstretched hand of Jorge Arenas, and that one would have had a chance to potentially skirt away, but instead it'll just be a loud strike here for Dylan Noisy.
Yeah, Arenas continues to just give it his all in the field over at third base. I mean, even on a foul ball, he's laying out for that thing, making sure it doesn't get down the line.
So digging back in again here is Corey Acton from the right side. He's got Dylan Noisy standing on first base. He fouls this away, and that'll skip just over the protective netting here at Chatham.
It also just missed the press box, about 5 feet wide of it on the left side, and almost ended up right there. And luckily the netting at least slowed that ball down as it was heading that direction.
Yeah, Josh Schaefer and Cooper Boardman would have had to make a play up there. They're also in a prime position to potentially get a foul ball. And I'll tell you what, Colin, is taking off for third is Joey Weimer. That pitch will miss low and inside. It's going to be runners at the corners here, but we've seen our fair share of hard-hit balls back at the press box at White House Field, and I wouldn't want to not have any netting up there considering how hard some of those balls come in.
Certainly. I mean, the ball, especially when you're directly behind the plate, comes in really, really hot.
That's going to be in there for called strike 3, and that will do it for the inning as Corey Acton for the second time today is down on strikes. We will step away, and when we come back, it'll be the fifth inning of play here for the Chatham Anglers, who trail at 4-2 here on the Harwich Mariners YouTube network.
Polkovich.
Welcome back to Veterans Field here in Chatham. Tyler Henry alongside Cal and Casey. It'll be the top of the order coming up here for the Chatham Anglers as Caden Polkovich will lead things off, followed by Ben Ramirez and then Sal Garza. And so far, those three guys have done a pretty good job. They've reached base a total of 3 times, and an RBI for Garza, a walk for Ramirez, and then a single for Caden Polkovich, who will take the first pitch for ball 1. Polkovich actually went around to second and then again around to third on 2 passed balls. So the beneficiary of a few pitches that were not exactly in a good spot is chasing this one over to the wall and making the catch over by the Chatham dugout is Corey Acton. I thought that one was going to bounce out of play, but Acton kept with it, and he's able to make the catch just past the Chatham dugout for out number 1.
Yep, there's a little bit of space over on the third base side, just beyond the dugout. A little bit of a kind of a cutout, and it was just enough for Corey Acton to camp under it and make the catch. So, fortunately for Polkovich, he doesn't get another opportunity, and now it'll be up to Ben Ramirez to try to get a base runner on for the Anglers here in the 5th.
It was also very close to the restricted area, if you will, as the first pitch here from Seymour will miss for ball 1, the same one that resulted in the ground rule double earlier today. So plenty of room over there. I guess the restricted area probably closer when you go further down the line, as this one's going to be chopped hard at Hal Hughes at second, who comes in and throws to first in time for out number 2.
It's been a pretty busy game out there for Hal Hughes. You mentioned the ball that got through him back in the third inning. He was unable to make the play on, but since then, pretty routine for him. He's gotten back to being more comfortable, and again, maybe just kind of being out of position has had him a little bit out of sorts when playing that second base position, but we're definitely not discrediting the amount of talent he has with that glove.
So here comes Saul Garza. So far, Garza is 0 for 2, but he did drive in a run with the ground out back in the third inning. The first pitch he sees is a curveball that's going to miss for ball 1.
Infield shifted a little bit towards the left. Hal Hughes playing pretty close to that second base bag at the second base position.
This one's going to be chopped hard. This time it's short. Noisy picks it up, throws across, and that's going to be in time for out number 3. A quick 1-2-3 inning here for Carson Seymour. We go to the 6th, and still up 4-2 here when you come back here on the Harwich YouTube Network.
Number 10, Luke Barton.
Welcome back to Chatham. Tyler Henry, Colin Casey, a 4-2 lead for the Harwich Mariners, and a new pitcher coming into the game here for the Chatham A's. It will be Luke Bartnicki, who has already had some experience against the Harwich Mariners once this season. He is from the University of Georgia Tech, and through 18 innings this year, he struck out 25, only 13 walks, and has a 3.5 ERA. Opponent sitting 250 off of him. Pretty standard out of a Cape League pitcher, but Colin, he's really had a couple of good outings.
Yep, including a solid one against the Mariners back on June 14th. Bartnicki went 3 strong innings, just giving up the 1 hit, but he did walk 4 guys while striking out 4, so a bit of control issues for Bartnicki in his first appearance on the season. Let's see if he can kind of rebound this time and get a big, or be able to keep this lead at 2 here in the 6th inning.
So Harwich up big, and we'll see whether or not they can add a few more runs here off of a guy that's seen them pretty well this season in Luke Bartnicki. And again, Bartnicki will be facing off against Chris Lanzilli, Mike Rothenberg, and Hal Hughes. So it'll be the bottom 3 in the order here for Harwich. And Colin, we also don't really expect to see any substitutions. It seems like the guys that they're going to keep on the bench are the guys that are going to be in the All-Star game, so likely not going to see Cabadas, Fedko, or Daniel Cabrera at any point today. And the other guys on the bench, not guys that are typically brought in to pinch hit, with Galland and Weimer both playing today.
Yeah, especially if the Mariners are able to hold on to this lead at this juncture in the game, even if it's a slim one. I think Coach Engler will probably stick with those guys.
First pitch is going to be ripped, but right at the second baseman as Chris Lanzilli hits that. It was less of a line drive and more of what looked like it could have been a flare, but it doesn't get up high enough in the air, and it's going to be Houston Morrill making the catch for out number 1.
Yeah, it was kind of a inside-out swing by Chris Lanzilli, and he just couldn't quite get it out into right center field over Morrill's head. Good range by the second baseman. He's able to run it down in shallow right center.
So here comes Mike Rothenberg, and he will swing at the first pitch he sees, hits that one out to straightaway center field, as that'll give plenty of time for Caden Polkovich to take about 6 steps back and make the catch for out number 2. So 2 pitches, 2 outs. Wonder whether or not Hal Hughes is going to be taking this pitch, Colin.
Be interesting to see. I mean, it makes a lot of sense, especially with Hughes 0 for 1 today with a walk and a run scored. But he did fly out to center in a relatively quick at-bat to end the 4th inning, trying to make sure that the Mariners don't go 1, 2, 3 with the 7, 8, 9 hitters for the second time tonight.
So we'll see whether or not Hal Hughes will in fact take the first pitch here. As here it comes, and there he is taking all the way. That'll miss for ball 1. It was actually one of the most rare things, if not I think Colin the most rare thing in all of baseball that happened here at Veterans Field. An immaculate inning was pitched this year for Chatham. I got the lowdown on this earlier today as the 1-0 pitch is going to be in there for strike 1. It was a game against the YD Red Sox earlier this season, and while Scott Pickler was doing what Scott Pickler does, he had used 3 straight pinch hitters to try to get to, I believe, Colby Kubicek, and I guess that ticked Kubicek off because he got the first 2 guys on 3 strikes each, as this one's going to be in there for, oh boy, a called strike on Hal Hughes that was nowhere near the zone.
Yep, that was an egregious call. I'm going to be honest with you. That pitch looked like it was at least a good 4 to 5 inches inside on Hughes, and
Coach He's going to come out and have a word with Hughes, although this may be just to have a word with the home plate umpire. Not sure what that was, but anyway. So Colby Kubicek, he gets 6 pitches, 2 strikeouts, and the coach comes out, another pinch hitter coming in for the YD Red Sox. Tom Holliday comes out and says, throw a curveball. And he goes, well, I don't have a curveball. He goes, well, throw one anyway. So he throws 2 curveballs and a fastball, gets the last strikeout to end the inning, and pitches what has been, I believe, the only immaculate inning on the Cape so far this season. So good on Colby Kubicek this year for finding a way to get that done, and pretty impressive story for him. Here comes the 1-2 to Hal Hughes, and that's going to be fouled away. And now, Colin, I think we can get back to that pitch that was, I mean, below the knees, and it probably could have hit the knees of Hal Hughes, but so far inside that was called strike 2.
I'm not really sure what Ed McAvin was looking at on that pitch. I mean, ball almost hit him.
So the 1-2 pitch is on its way. Same spot. Ducking out is Hughes. This time it'll be rule the ball. And, you know, that's really something that you're going to get once every 10, 15 games, a ball that's just called incorrectly. Unfortunately, it doesn't have a huge bearing here with the bases empty and Harwich holding a 2-0 lead. But the 2-2 is on its way now to Hal Hughes, and that's going to be chopped to third. Again coming in and making what would have been a great play, but it's actually going to get on the other side of the line here, so it's going to be ruled a foul ball, and the count stays 2-2.
Yeah, it would have been a tricky play for Arenas, as that ball was in between hops going down the third base line. He kind of tried to stab at it with the backhand. Couldn't come up with it, but luckily for him, it ended up being a foul ball.
And Ed McAvin is a little bit vindicated here because 2 foul balls have been hit by Hal Hughes. So the count would be 2-2 anyway, but with 2 away, Hughes will have to get awfully defensive here. Choke up on the bat a little bit maybe. Keeps the knob at the end of his hands. And here comes the 2-2 pitch. And he will foul it off once again, fighting off another pitch here. And Hal Hughes has done a really good job working long at bats over the last couple of weeks.
Interestingly enough, no one warming right now in the Mariners bullpen, so for the time being, Seymour is going to go out and pitch what would be his 5th inning.
Hal Hughes will take this one foul again, and honestly, I completely agree with that, as he had 2 3-up, 3-down innings to the Chatham Anglers, and 3 of those guys were the top 3 in the order. So he will have to face off against the heart of the order. In place of Tyler Dones, who came in as a pinch hitter for Paxton Wallace, it will be Alex Terrell likely hitting in the 4-hole, and then Jamal O'Gwyn and Brady Smith. Here comes another 2-2 pitch, and Hughes will take that one to second. It'll be picked up by Houston Morrill, and he will throw on to first to Alex Terrell to end the inning. So it's going to be 3 up, 3 down for the Mariners. We go to the 6th, or to the home half of the 6th. After this, Harwich still leads at 4-2 on the Mariners YouTube network.
shirts and hats.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to baseball action here on the Cape Cod Baseball Network. Tyler Henry alongside Colin Casey. New producer for us today is it's actually Jack Bellinger taking over the producing duties. So big shouts to Jack for handling all the button pressing. But here it'll be Carson Seymour looking for another 1-2-3 inning. He was able to get Jorge Arenas, Kendrick Calilu, Houston Morrill in the 4th inning, and then Caden Polkovich, Ben Ramirez, and Saul Garza in the 5th. So it'll be the heart of the order, and well, leading things off will be a new hitter into the game. First pitch he sees will miss high and away. And is that Alex Terrell?
I believe it is, number 34.
Yep. So as I mentioned before the break, Terrell will take over here for Tyler Dones. And the next pitch he sees is going to be, wow. They're going to say he went around on an appeal down to third. It didn't really look like he did. I mean, I'll be fair on both ways. Ed McAvin's having a couple of interesting calls there behind the plate. That was actually more on the third base umpire, but either way, it's a 1-1 count, and the curveball is going to be in there to make it a 1-2 count.
Yeah, overall, a couple of rough calls from the officiating crew tonight, but you'll have that from time to time.
So Alex Terrell digs in, a 1-2 count. He'll rip that one right at second. Hughes will glove it off the bounce and throw on to first in time for out number 1.
Yeah, great read off the bat from Hughes. Instead of coming in forward and trying to catch that on the line, he takes a couple of steps back, gets a clean hop right into his chest, and he gets the glove up in time and makes an easy play at first. And that's now 8 in a row retired for Carson Seymour, who's been on a phenomenal stretch ever since that rough third inning in which he surrendered 2 runs.
And keep in mind, he did not start this game as Jamal O'Gwyn stands in and rakes one into the gap in left center field. That'll get down. Cutting it off is Marshak, and it's going to be a base hit here for Jamal O'Gwyn. So that will break it up. Colin, you might have done it again.
Yeah, but of course, Jamal O'Gwyn is coming in was 2 for 2, so that's his 3rd hit of the game in as many plate appearances. So he's just been seeing the ball well. A guy who traditionally isn't that great of a hitter against righties is just mashing them tonight.
You get the feeling if Carson Seymour can keep this up with how taxed the bullpen has been, they might leave him out there for the 7th and maybe even the 8th. As keep in mind, he's not really on any kind of an innings limit, and he didn't pitch the first inning in this game. Pitch count will probably play a lot into it as Brady Smith digs in. First pitch he sees is a curveball that'll miss slow and away for ball 1. So Jamal O'Gwyn stands on first base for the 3rd time today. He was able to reach back in the 2nd inning and then came around to 3rd, did not score. He reached back in the 3rd inning on a single and never advanced past first. And here he stands on in the 6th, his team trailing by 2, and Brady Smith taking another pitch low for a ball, standing at the plate right now. Smith is 0 for 2, a fly out and a ground out. Just needs to strike out to complete the trifecta.
Pair of steals this season for O'Gwyn on first base, but he's also been caught 3 times, so hasn't been a great year on a base pass for Jamal O'Gwyn.
Reasonable secondary lead for him as this one will miss inside, and you wonder, Colin, if going out of the stretch here has maybe affected how Carson Seymour's been pitching, as he has not had to do that since back in the 3rd. So Seymour out of the stretch will come set, bring it to the belt, and he will deliver the 3-0 pitch. It's fastball in there for strike 1. The count here is 3-1.
And with Jorge Arenas on deck, this would be a huge at-bat for Chatham. They're at the very least able to move the runner up into scoring position with 2 away. A bat like Arenas might be able to bring him home and cut the lead in half at the bare minimum.
Seymour, the 3-1 pitch. Swing and a miss. It's going to get briefly away from Rothenberg. A big hack taken there by Brady Smith, and he's just worked the count full as it is now 3-2.
Completely dark skies now with the lights on at Veterans Field.
And the other thing that makes Veterans Field so unique is that layer of sea mist. It looks like a constant fog kind of hanging over the field, and you really see it amplified in the way the lights shine down. If you're around the area and you haven't had a chance, this is an excellent place to see a game at a ballpark. Here comes the payoff. Swing and a miss. Strike 3. Brady Smith is down on strikes for the first time today. It'll be another strikeout for Carson Seymour and 2 away in the inning here for Jorge Arenas.
Yeah, much needed strikeout from Seymour. It's actually his first since the 4th inning, so it's been a little bit of time, but now 3 on the game for Seymour, and probably the biggest one so far is now tying run comes up, but with 2 away.
So Jorge Arenas will dig in. He's already had a double today. That came back in the 2nd inning. Aside from that, it was a weak fly out to the second baseman back in the 4th inning. The first pitch from Seymour, curveball in there for strike one. And boy, I'll tell you what, Colin, for a pitch he hasn't had all season long, that curveball has looked awfully good.
Yeah, I mean, you get so much time to work on it, and this is a league where you can kind of afford to test things out, and Seymour's grown to become really comfortable with that breaking ball, and it's almost like he's starting to favor it.
It's been the only other off-speed pitch that he's had throughout the second half of the season as he started the year, I believe, throwing a fastball and a slider, but he's turned it more into a change, so the way he snaps his arm has been a lot different. He's got an 0-1 count here on Jorge Arenas, looking to close out the inning and get you a score update here in just a moment, but here comes the 0-1 pitch. Another curveball, that's just going to miss for a ball. Final to pass your way, the Wareham Gatemen beat the Bourne Braves by a final score of 7-5. So with that being said, both the Wareham Gatemen and the Falmouth Commodores clinch a playoff spot today. So 3 of the 4 spots in the West have been clinched. The only other one not to do so is the Bourne Braves, and you get the feeling they will probably follow suit the way Hyannis keeps losing games, although they did pick up their 7th of the day. This is going to come inside and hit Brady Smith, very scary, or Jorge Arenas rather, that will move Brady Smith up to second, and you can tell Carson Seymour a little shaken up there as well, as clearly no malintent there, but he came in with a curveball and just kind of missed his spot.
Yeah, it was clocked at 73, and again, as you mentioned, it kind of just slipped out of his hand and came in. Luckily, it was a breaking ball, so it didn't come in too hot, but always scary to see a ball come in and hit somebody, but in the end, it's a productive plate appearance as Arenas gets on base, and now it's 2 on with 2 away for Kendrick Calilo.
Well, and the big concern, too, is with the curveball, I mean, it looked like it was heading for the head, but that late movement, of course, taking it down more into the shoulder area, and you hear it hit the plastic. I mean, these guys are basically wearing armored suits out there these days, so no worse for wear over there at first base is Jorge Arenas. And now runners at first and second, as you mentioned, for Kendrick Calilo, who today is 0 for 2, a line out and a strikeout. He'll be looking to get on base for the first time today. Seymour from the stretch, ready, checks the runner back to second and brings the pitch home. And that one's going to be in there, actually just off the plate. Another curveball, and that's going to be ball 1.
Now we see some action in the Mariners bullpen as a left-hander getting loose.
Yep, we'll see who Harwich elects to bring in. Again, not a lot of options for the M's today, but making the most of what they have. Here comes the 1-0 pitch. That'll be swung on and chopped foul here by Calilo.
And if I had to guess, I'm going to assume that might be Blake Espinal warming up. He might be a viable option here. It's been a little bit of time since he's last pitched, so.
I believe the last time he pitched was against Wareham in that big victory for the Mariners. Gave up just 1 run in that game in what turned into, was it a 6-2 win for Harwich?
6-1, I believe.
6-1, so he gave up the only run in that game. Nonetheless, for the time being, it's Carson Seymour's. And the right-hander will stand in once again. Coming set is Seymour. Runners at first and second here with 2 away. Here comes the 1-1. That'll be fouled back to the screen. And Colin, you also wonder if that doesn't help the Chatham lineup a little bit if they bring another lefty into the game with all these righties in the lineup today for the Chatham A's.
Yeah, it's certainly possible that they might be able to get an advantage facing against a left-hand pitcher. But again, Espinal coming off a pretty good outing, just 1 inning pitch, but he only gave up 1 hit, no runs allowed.
Seymour set. Seymour, the 1-2, that'll miss in the dirt, and a good block by Rothenberg. It rolls away from him, but everybody will hold. So a good job there by the defense, keeping everybody in check. And with that other final being passed along, this is the last game left in play here in the Cape Cod Baseball League tonight. Everybody else has gone final. Hopefully we'll be able to get through the rest of the season, as rain is currently threatening the Monday and Tuesday games. We'll see whether or not that actually has a big impact. But running out of places to put these extra games, and you really wonder what that'll do to the end of the schedule here, as this has been a record year for rainouts. This will be hit right at Dylan Noisy. He'll flip the short way to Hughes at second, and that will retire the inning. So no more runs scored here for the Chatham A's in the 6th. Still a 4-2 lead for Harwich. When we come back, you're listening to Mariners Baseball here on the Harwich Mariners YouTube Network.
All sizes.
Welcome back to Veterans Field. Tyler Henry alongside Cal and Casey. I'd like to remind you that today's game is brought to you by our dear friends and great sponsor, Cape Cod Healthcare. Cape Cod Healthcare is the leading provider of healthcare services for residents and visitors of Cape Cod, with 2 acute care hospitals and more than 450 physicians. For more information, visit capecodhealth.org. Cape Cod Healthcare, expert physicians, quality hospitals, superior care.
Got a defensive change to tell you about before the 7th inning. Keaton Rice will take over at the catcher's spot for Saul Garza. And so Max Marshak will dig in, lead things off for the Harwich Mariners in the 7th. Lefty against righty. The first pitch is showing bunt is Marshak, and he offers at it for strike 1.
Yep, Marshak so far today, the only way he reached was via the walk, but again, when he finds his way on base, he's the most likely guy to come around to score, given his speed. He can swipe a bag, and then Harwich can find a way to put the wood on it, as they did back in the 5th inning, find a way to drive him in.
There's a swing and a foul ball hit off towards the right, actually glances off the light post down the right field line.
Yeah, I got to be awfully careful about that, as sounds like some clapping down there. Everybody's all right.
Marshak out of Texas Tech. Here's his 0-2, and he swings and misses for strike 3. So Marshak strikes out for the 2nd time in this one, and Luke Bartnicki 4 up, 4 down since entering the game, 1 away in the top of the 7th.
Yeah, he continues to cruise here against Harwich hitting, and it seems like that's what he's been doing all year long in his other outing against Harwich. Had a really good outing and didn't give up a single run, I believe, so looking to continue his trend here, and so far so good through the first 4 hitters.
And the first pitch to Chris Galland is over for a strike. Galland 1 for 3 with a run scored back in the 3rd. Came across the score on that RBI single from Mike Ludwig. And the 0-1 is fouled over towards the first base dugout.
And boy, he really took something off that first pitch, coming in at just 72 miles an hour. And when you throw an 87-mile-an-hour fastball and you can set it up with a changeup that comes in more than 10 miles an hour slower, that is a deadly 1-2 combination. So we'll see what he comes with here with an 0-2 count.
And the 0-2 is missing just low. Gallen was able to continue that hit streak up to 5 games with a single in the 3rd. The 1-2 is hit pretty well out towards left field, and that'll make its way into the parking lot, foul.
Yeah, that one gets well out of play, so see whether or not Gallen can straighten things out with a 1-2 count. He's been on an absolute tear throughout the last couple of weeks, and already a hit and a run scored for him today.
Another 1-2 to Gallen from Bartnicki is a chopper over towards short. Ramirez will glove it. The throw on to first, and not in time, as Chris Gallen shows off his speed and it legs out an infield single, his 2nd hit of the ball game. Mariners have a runner on first with 1 away.
And how about that, as Alex Terrell caught the ball at first and automatically flipped it back to his shortstop, Ben Ramirez. He thought it was an out, but no, Gallen legs it out. An excellent infield single, and Harwich is back in business here with 1 away and Joey Weimer at the plate.
So here's Weimer, who struck out in the 1st and has walked twice since then, and was at the plate when Max Marshak came around to score in the 5th on a wild pitch. And he swings the first pitch, and it's a weak pop-up over towards first, backing up and making a running catch. No, the ball drops. He had a glove on it at first, Alex Toral, and he couldn't quite hang on to it. It was a difficult play, but a great effort nonetheless.
And I'll tell you what, Chris Gallen was ready to tag at first base if he had made that catch. He took a couple of steps, and when he saw it hit the ground, he actually stepped off of it, but that would have been a big-time opportunity for Gallen to maybe move up a bag, but as it stands, just a 0-1 count here on Weimer.
And here is the 0-1. It misses high. Counts at 1-1. Weimer, one of the big-time run producers over last week for the Mariners. The other being Galland over at first, and he swings and fouls that pitch off to the right out of play.
Yep, Weimer continuing to fight here on another count. Trying to make it at least a long at bat. If nothing else, try to get deep into the count here of Luke Bartnicki.
We were hitting 244 away from White House Field this season, as the throw over on Galland is not going to be in time, and that just shows how big of a hitter that Weimer's been at White House Field, hitting 375, the home run, and 7 RBIs.
Yeah, he has been absolutely something else when playing at home. Started the year off with a 10-game home hitting streak and never really looked back even after breaking it.
The 1-2, Galland is going. Throw down, and Galland is in easily as the pitch misses outside. What a jump by Chris Galland, and he ends up swiping second, and he adds to his team lead in steals on the season.
I might be the slowest broadcaster on the Cape, but with a jump like that, I think I might have been able to make it down there to second. Galland got an unbelievable read there on Luke Bartnicki, and if I'm being honest, I'm not even sure why Rice tried to throw down to second. That was a lost cause.
It's an even dozen steals on the year for Galland. The 2-2 is hit well out towards left field by Weimer. That ball's carrying back at the track, and able to make the catch is Jamal O'Gwyn. He had to go all the way down into the corner to make that play, and there's some home field advantage for Veterans Field. It's 340 down that left field line, and Jamal O'Gwyn needed all 340 of those feet to make that play for out number 2.
Well, it's 340 down the line, but it's also right next to the sea, and it's been a hot, sticky day, so that ball was not going to carry as it kind of just died in the air. But pretty good ride given to it there by Joey Weimer, and the runner will stay in scoring position here for Mike Ludwig, who does have 1 RBI today. He had the single back in the 3rd inning. Aside from that, a pair of strikeouts for him.
So Ludwig looking to drive in the runner, Galland over at second. First pitch from Bartnicki is just outside.
Yeah, Bartnicki trying to get cheeky with something off speed and outside, but nothing doing there. Is staying tight on it is Mike Ludwig. Count is 1-0 here.
Bartnicki out of Georgia Tech from Marietta, Georgia. He's going to a school in his home state, and he falls behind 2-0 now to Ludwig.
Yep, and we'll see what Ludwig can do with this count. He's been out ahead a couple of times. Not a guy that's reached on a ton of walks this season, but we'll see what he can offer here with a 2-0 count.
Bartnicki also tied for the league lead in wins with 3, and Ludwig takes a big swing and comes up empty. It's 2-1.
Yep, Bartnicki is one of the guys on that list. Another is Bo Hofstra, who I believe is pitching right now for the Katuitt Kettleers, but he was originally going to be slated to be on the Harwich Mariners this year. Due to roster constrictions, he didn't end up making the team. So a couple of good players in the West that have come from the Harwich Mariners.
Then, of course, you have Harwich Mariner Jacob Polish, who's got 3 wins himself on the season, having some spectacular outings to go along with those wins.
And I believe the only other lefty on that list, as this is smashed once again, it would have been near the press box, but the netting will stop that. So of all the guys with 3 wins this season, Polish is one of just 2 lefties. Him and Bartnicki are the 2, but again, wins kind of one of those interesting stats as Cam Bauman came into the game a few days ago against the Brewster Whitecaps, had a pretty tough outing, and still walked away with the victory.
The 2-2 pitch, Galland going, there's a swing and a miss, strike 3, and the throw down is not going to matter as Ludwig strikes out for the 3rd time in this one.
All right, it's 7th inning.
And the Chatham A's get out of the inning with no runs allowed. We head to the 7th inning stretch. The Mariners lead at 4-2. You're listening to Harwich Mariners Baseball on the Mariners Radio Network. We head to the bottom of the 7th from Veterans Field, and the Mariners looking to make it 4 wins in a row as they take a 4-2 lead over the Chatham A's into the bottom of the 7th. And new pitcher to tell you about, it's going to be the lefty out of Notre Dame, Tommy Vale, as he relieves Carson Seymour, who goes 5 strong innings, giving up 2 runs on 6 hits. Of course, he didn't start the game. He came in the 2nd, but he finds himself in line for the win, and Tyler, a pretty solid outing from Carson Seymour.
Yeah, absolutely. Seymour comes in and gets the job done. Actually does more than that. At the end of the day, he's going to end up going the majority of the distance for Harwich today. And now that Tommy Vale's in the game, this could be his game for the rest of it. I really don't know that they'll want to bring anybody else in. Last time out, he pitched 3 2/3. He gave up just 1 hit and had 7 strikeouts to only 1 walk, allowed just 1 run. That came 4 days ago in a game where Harwich was in a absolute pitcher's duel with the Hyannis Harbor Hawks, but they came out on top. So, this might be the end of the day or the end of the line for the Harwich bullpen, as Tommy Vale could very well take over for the last 3 innings.
Of course, Vale picking up that win in the game against Hyannis, and finds himself now 1-1 on the season with 3.55 ERA. Opponents hitting just 159 against Vale this season, so it's been pretty tough to hit. And looks like we're going to have the 9-1-2 hitters due up, and Houston Morrill will try to spark something for Chatham. He's 0 for 2 so far with a ground out and a strikeout. Vale working from the windup. His first pitch is over for a called strike. Solid life on that fastball at 87. So Vale working from the windup once again. His 0-1, he blows it by Morrill, and Morrill in danger of striking out for the 2nd time. He's behind 0-2.
Yep, and they're going to go back-to-back pitchers with the same exact toolkit. Fastball, curveball for Carson Seymour, fastball, curveball for Tommy Vale. So only 2 pitches, but he's been working them very effectively.
The 0-2 skips in the dirt for a ball.
And similar to what we saw to Joey Weimer, but from a pitching standpoint, it was a long stretch of games where Tommy Vale did not come in after giving up a couple of big runs, but he had some time to kind of get his head right and work on what he wanted to work on, and he's bounced back stronger than ever as this pitch will be fouled away back down the hill. So the count stays 1-2 here on Houston Morrill, but Tommy Vale, over his last couple of outings, has really looked good.
Yeah, Vale now this is his 5th game on the road this year, so he's been a guy that the Mariners have used a ton in road games, and he's got a 3.38 ERA on the season away from White House Field as his 1-2 misses to even the count.
Yep, and we'll see again. Harwich kind of needs him to go, if not the rest of the way, at least through the 7th and 8th innings as time will be called here. Because, again, you look at the bullpen, it's been a little bit depleted. The only other option that I can think of, really, is Blake Espinal, unless you think Cam Bauman can come in and pitch on 3 days rest.
2-2 is swung on and missed for strike 3 as Vale goes up the ladder on Morrill, and he is retired to begin the home half of the 7th inning.
And more importantly, Morrill's willing to chase it up there as he completely gets hung out to dry. That was one of those pitches that you throw just hoping the guy's going to bite. He left it a little higher than I think he would have liked, but he gets Houston Morrill to chase, and here comes the top of the order. It'll be 1-2-3, starting here with Caden Polkovich.
Polkovich 1 for 3 with a run scored back in the 3rd inning. He takes first pitch for a ball.
And we're going to have a pretty good sample size come playoff time of what these guys can do against Harwich and what Harwich can do against these guys. Each Eastern team will play each other Eastern team a total of 6 times before the end of the regular season.
1-0 is just going to miss outside. Polkovich, one of the biggest run producers in the entire league, as he comes into today 5th in the entire CCBL with 22 RBIs, and he's got a big-time hitters count up 3-0 now on Tommy Vale.
Yeah, Polkovich and Jamal O'Gwin have been the only 2 guys that have really been just rock-solid consistent throughout the entire course of the season. So we'll see whether or not they can keep that going here, as Polkovich is trying to reach base for a 2nd time today.
And the 3-0 is going to miss outside, so it's 4-pitch, 1-out walk for Caden Polkovich, and now with a runner on base and the tying run at the plate, Ben Ramirez will try to do some damage here in the 7th.
Yep, Ramirez already has a double and a run scored today, and he did not have the RBI. Actually, had one of the RBIs, I believe, back in that 3rd inning. So an opportunity for him to keep the line moving here for Chatham, just 1 away, and only a 2-run deficit for them to overcome.
He was a big-time late-inning hero against the Harwich Mariners a couple of weeks ago when He had a go-ahead RBI ground out, hit up the middle as first pitch is in there for a called strike.
Yeah, we'll see how aggressive Tommy Vale is with the strike zone. Is typically he's willing to go right at guys, but it seems like he does kind of go away from that a little bit once he gets into the stretch.
6 runs from both teams is the most combined so far this season in a Chatham-Harwich matchup, as the 0-1 is fouled straight back over our heads.
And that includes a game right here at Veterans Field where Chatham was able to put up 5 runs, but Harwich was blanked for the first time this season.
Mariners would go on to return the favor at White House Field, the 2-0 shutout victory behind an 8-inning, 10 strikeout performance from Connor McCullough. The 0-2. That misses down and into the lefty Ramirez.
And you know, everything for Harwich, this is one of the biggest games of the season because, again, if they can win today and take that momentum out of the All-Star break, they're going to have everybody well rested coming out of the All-Star game. It's going to be an entirely different ball game going into the final week of the season.
1-2 to Ramirez is in the dirt for a ball. Rothenberg able to keep it in front of him, and Ben Ramirez, not a guy who's hit lefties considerably well this season. Just a $179, but he has jumped the yard once, a home run, 2 RBIs for the shortstop out of USC. 2-2 from Vale is fouled straight back. Might have gotten a piece of Rothenberg on the way to the backstop.
Colin, crazy to think that this is game number 34 of the season after today, just 10 games left on the other side of that All-Star break, and that's it. I mean, it's going to be a home and home against everybody, 3 games against the Orleans Firebirds, and then a game against Catuit on Monday, but that's it for the rest of the year.
Yep, the Mariners will next be in action on Monday as they travel to Catuit, try to complete a game that was discontinued as that 2-2 pitch gets away from Mike Rothenberg, and Polkovich will make it up to second base. So it's been a bit of a tough night behind the plate for Mike Rothenberg.
He's had a lot of pitches to deal with down in the dirt, though. Typically one of the better defensive catchers we've seen, but yeah, a couple that have gotten by him, and it's always been Caden Polkovich. I mean, how about that? That's the 3rd passed ball that Caden Polkovich has moved up on today.
So he's up to second base with 1 away and a full count to Ben Ramirez. Keaton Rice waiting in the on-deck circle. And the payoff pitch, and it's going to miss up and outside for ball 4. So after striking out the 9-hitter, it's back-to-back walks to the 1 and 2 guys for Tommy Vale, and all of a sudden the go-ahead
from LSU.
The go-ahead run comes to the plate, and Saul Garza's in this. I guess Keaton Rice only came in defensively for an inning, but I remember the announcement coming over that Rice was put in the game. I'm really confused right now.
So my guess is they probably slid Keaton Rice's slot over. Maybe they slid Keaton Rice to be the defensive substitute, and they slide Garza in as the DH is the only way I can see that they do that.
I don't think that's legal, though, because I think the DH has to be swapped out outright. At least that's how it is at the major league level. I don't know if there's an exception here in the Cape, but at least for the time being, it's Garza who's going to stay in the game, who is 0 for 3 with an RBI in this one.
And no contest from the Harwich bench. Nobody's going to come out and have a word with them about that. So, yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what's going on with this as Garza will get his 4th at-bat. Long conference over on the mound right now between Coach Berger and the rest of the infield alongside Tommy Vale.
Yeah, we should get an answer once Brady Smith comes up to see if Keaton Rice is, in fact, the new DH. So, for the time being, Garza will come to the plate, and he comes to the plate with a big situation with runners on first and second, only 1 away, and he represents the go-ahead run.
And this is the one thing Harwich can't do. You cannot lose this lead at this point because, again, I mean, the pitching has already been stretched a little bit thin, and you don't have a lot of other arms left to go to out there in the bullpen. So we'll see how they play this. But for the time being, it's Tommy Vale has been very capable out of the pen all season long, and he'll pitch here with runners at first and second and 1 away.
First pitch to Garza. He swings and was jammed a little bit. That ball goes all the way out to the parking lot, foul out of play.
And that's what Vale does. I mean, a good job of there. It's a foul ball, but typically he does a good job of attacking hitters and getting ahead in the counts. He's not a guy that's going to try to get cute around the corners. He's going to go right at guys and, you know, try to find a way to strike him out. That's been his big thing all season long. 7 strikeouts in his last appearance. And looking to maybe tack a few more on here.
0-1 to Garza is on the outside corner for strike 2, and Garza's been a guy who's hit lefties really well in a small sample size, 2 of 4 with a home run, and he's scored both times that he's reached base. He's also struck out once, so it's a home run and a double, a couple of extra base hits in his 4 plate appearances against lefties. He's got an opportunity here with 2 strikes on him and 1 away in the inning. The pitch. It's a breaking ball, swung on and missed, strike 3. A big hook from Tommy Vale and a bounce back strikeout as there's now 2 away with 2 runners on base for Chatham.
So here comes Alex Terrell with 2 away, and things getting a little bit interesting here. Harwich trying to find their way out of the inning, but yeah, another really, really good play made there by Tommy Vale. He gets another strikeout and looking for one more to close out the inning.
Vale in the stretch. His first pitch is swung on a miss for strike 1. We go from a guy who sees lefties pretty well to a guy who is pretty forgettable against left-handed pitching, as Terrell just 1 of 16 on the season with a run scored. He's also struck out 4 times against left-handed pitching. This time he rips one down the right field line. It's a fair ball. One hops the wall. Polkovich scores. Coming around is Ramirez. The throw is going to go to second base. It's a 2-run game-tying double for Alex Terrell as he's in second base standing, and all of a sudden we're tied at 4 in the 7th inning.
Yep, just a good piece of hitting there by Alex Terrell. That's exactly what you want out of the guy, and he rakes that ball down the right field line. So it was really weird. I don't think I've seen Ludwig struggle to get a ball like that before. He went to the wall, picked it up, and then it kind of double-clutched the throw. And boy, you think maybe if he gets it in fast enough, there's a chance they can make a play at home. But because he took so long getting it out of his glove, it's going to result in 2 runs coming across without a throw, and it's a tie ball game here with Jamal O'Gwyn standing up.
First pitch to O'Gwyn is a strike, and Jamal's been seeing the ball pretty well this evening as he's gotten 3 hits in this one, but hasn't come around to score yet. And the 0-1 misses below the knees, so let's see if Vale can bounce back as that 2-run double gets R.J. Davovich off the hook for a loss.
Colin, really quickly, in answer to your question earlier, that is Keaton Rice standing over there in the on-deck circle. And he is standing there with catcher's pads on.
So that pitch is fouled off, and it's a 1-2 count. So I guess that means that Garza was moved to the designated hitter spot, and Rice will be the catcher from here on out. So the go-ahead run, standing at second, in Alex Terrell. And a 1-2 count to the batter, Jamal O'Gwyn, and he fights off another pitch foul. For Terrell, he's got 12 RBIs now on the season, but of course, that being his first 2 against left-handed pitching all season long. The 1-2 is a breaking ball in the dirt, and Rothenberg able to keep it in front of him. That'll even things up 2-2.
And I mean, they may not be done yet. A runner in scoring position still, and an opportunity to potentially take the lead here in the home half of the 7th inning. So this could turn into a really big swing inning for a Chatham team that has already broken Harwich's heart once this year with a comeback win. Harwich jumped out to a 2-0 victory at White House Field, and then it was just 3 one-run innings that resulted in a 3-2 Chatham victory.
2-2, a check swing. It's going to be called strike 3, and that will end the inning. But not before Chatham Anglers pick up a couple of runs and tie things up in the 7th, coming on a 2-run double off the bat of Alex Terrell. We head to the 8th. It is 4-4 from Veterans Field. You're listening to Harwich Mariners Baseball on the Mariners Radio Network. we head to the 7th inning, or we head to the 8th inning, excuse me, and Harwich Mariners, they were ahead earlier in this game 4-2, but 7th inning, a big piece of hitting with 2 away from Alex Terral. 2-run double played at Caden Polkovich and Ben Ramirez, and now brand new ball game heading into the 8th with a new pitcher set to go for the Chatham Anglers. It'll be Austin Vernon, the right-hander out of NC Central, who has appeared in 6 games this season. He's 2-0 on the year, the 4.02 ERA. Opponents are hitting .338 against him, so despite having a 2-0 record, Tyler Vernon's gotten hit pretty hard this season.
And that could turn to the advantage of the Harwich Mariners, who have really been hitting pretty good today, considering the fact that they do not have a couple of their best bats in the lineup, resting up the All-Star guys. But it'll be Dylan Noisy to start things off, who has reached base all 3 times, a fielder's choice, a walk, and a base hit. He also has an RBI and a run scored, so a big day for him, and he's one of those guys that could potentially put Harwich up with one swing of the bat.
It'll be Dylan Noisy stepping in, who's reached base in all 3 of his plate appearances. Single in the 2nd, a fielder's choice in the 3rd, as that ball is going to be bunted to the pitcher. The throw is in time, so Vernon immediately tested defensively. He's able to make a clean throw to first, and Noisy is retired for the first time in this game, 1 away in the 8th.
Yeah, not a bad idea there by Noisy. He just gets a little bit too much on it and kind of pushes that one right back to the pitcher's mound. So here comes Corey Acton, and again, Harwich has still not had a tie this season. They have 16 wins and 17 losses. I think we mentioned it once earlier in the broadcast, but this is the seemingly endless quest for Harwich to get back to 500 as the first pitch. Oh boy, looked like that missed high and inside, but they're going to call it strike 1 on Corey Acton.
And for Acton, it's been a bit of a rough night at the plate, 0 for 3 with a pair of strikeouts. The 0-1 from Vernon's a breaking ball at the knees, and he's working quickly, and he's already ahead of the batter, Acton, 0-2. Now the 0-2, and Acton swings and flares it out towards shallow left. O'Quinn coming in, and he's going to make the catch for out number 2.
Yep, that time it could have maybe dropped if he had gotten a little bit less on it, but, well, how about this, Colin?
Your attention.
Pinch hitter Nico Cavadas coming in, and Harwich may be breaking out the big guns here in this game, trying to avoid a tough loss to Chatham.
Cavadas has had some success against Chatham this season. He hit that 2-run shot the last time these 2 teams played, and it was a difference maker in a 2-0 victory. So we'll see if Cavadas can provide some late inning magic for the Mariners. First pitch from Vernon misses low and outside.
And I like the move here by Coach E. Again, I mean, 1 at-bat's not going to really tire a guy out, so he'll still be well rested for the All-Star game tomorrow and for the home run hitting contest tomorrow, as he'll watch this one in there for a called strike to even the count at 1-1.
Yeah, the assumption will be that Cavadas will also replace Lanzilli defensively over at first base. 1-1, and Cavadas way out in front of that pitch, and Vernon is dealing to start this 8th inning.
I think this is the first time we've seen Nico Cavadas used as a pinch hitter, because typically I don't remember the last time his bat wasn't in the lineup to begin a game.
Yeah, he's certainly been a guy that has been much needed in the starting lineup this year, and he'll take a pitch down low to even things up 2-2.
Yeah, not a bad idea there by Austin Vernon, trying to keep it down on Cavadas. You definitely don't want to make a mistake pitch up to the league leader in home runs this season. He could still change the outcome of this one with 1 swing of the bat.
The 2-2 is rolled over up the first base line. Vernon will field it himself. He's going to take it to the bag himself, and that gets a huge cheer out of the crowd as he tags first and beats Cavadas for out number 3. So it's a 1-2-3 8th inning out of the pen for Austin Vernon. We head to the bottom of the 8th, tied at 4. You're listening to Harwich Mariners Baseball on the Mariners Radio Network. We head to the bottom of the 8th inning from Veterans Field. The Harwich
Now
Mariners
pitching for Harwich.
in a dogfight. Chatham Anglers scores 4-4, and got another new pitcher for the Mariners as just an inning from Vale. He gives up 2 earned runs on 1 hit, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts, and it's going to be Blake Espinal out of Seton Hall getting an opportunity in the 8th. And Tyler, this is a big test for Blake as he's been given a couple of opportunities in games that have kind of already been decided, but this time he's right in the middle of crunch time, and he's going to face off against the 6, 7, and 8 hitters of a pretty good Chatham Anglers lineup.
Yeah, and this will be really big for the guy who came into the league only throwing fastballs. He has since added a slider, so an off-speed pitch for him, and that's been instrumental for him. A fastball that, again, comes in at around 95 miles an hour, but yeah, we'll see. I mean, Espinal this season, he's had a couple of opportunities, and so far he's looked okay through 9 2/3. He's had a 5.59 ERA, 11 strikeouts to 4 walks, but the big concern is through just the 9 innings pitched, he has given up 7 runs, and 1 more would give a lead to a Chatham team that's hungry for another victory here in the 2019 season.
11 strikeouts to go with 4 walks for Espinal. He's given up 3 home runs, too, in just 9 2/3 innings, so the big thing for him is keeping the ball in the ballpark, and he will be greeted by Keaton Rice in his first at-bat in this game, and first pitch he sees misses outside as Espinal touching 85 on that fastball.
Yep, Keaton Rice this season is hitting .269, an on-base percentage of .424, so big time at-bat for him, trying to set the table for his offense.
And the 1-0 is over for a strike. Keaton Rice, a lefty, looking for a big opportunity as he's 0 for 4 on the season against left-handed pitching with a run scored, and he falls behind 1 and 2 as Espinal goes down in the dirt with the off-speed.
And for Harwich, you got to think, today a tie would be almost as good as a win. They haven't had a tie all season, but it's got to be about picking up a point. That would put them 2 full games up on the Brewster Whitecaps after they got walked off at YD and give them another opportunity to push later.
Swing and a miss, strike 3, so a good start out of the pen for Espinal as he gets Keaton Rice down swinging. With 1 away, Jorge Arenas will try to reach base for the 3rd time in this contest.
Yep, and we'll see how much they stick with the lineup, although typically Coach Tom Holliday not a guy that's going to go to too many pinch hitters. He has already used 2 in this game, albeit 1 coming via defensive substitution. So here comes Jorge Arenas, who has reached base twice already, a double for him, a hit by pitch, and then a fly out back in the 3rd.
Nico Cavadas remains in the game at first after pinch hitting the top half of the inning, and Espinal's first pitch is a fastball low and outside. And
you really wonder whether or not we might see an offensive substitution for Mike Rothenberg, who is 0 for 3 today, as they still have a couple of really capable guys in Daniel Cabrera and also Christian Fedko on the bench.
1-0 is over for a strike, and yet another left-handed pitcher warming in the pen for the Mariners, and you have to wonder who it might be at this point. It could very well be Will Heflin in kind of a just-in-case situation, in case things get out of hand. But so far, a strong start to the inning for Espinal, and he skips 1 in the dirt for a ball. So definitely with this All-Star game looming tomorrow night, some of the decisions both managers making deeply affected by that. Big reason why guys like Cavadas, Fedko, and Cabrera not in the starting lineup for Harwich. So after a bit of a pause, Espinal toes the rubber once again. He'll have a 2-1 count against Arenas. Espinal working from the stretch, the pitch, and that ball almost comes in and glances off of Arenas, who's already been hit once in this game.
Yeah, and every single at-bat here for Blake Espinal becomes the biggest at-bat of his season. Again, this is a pretty big game for Harwich, trying to maintain the momentum of a 3-game winning streak. Now currently tied with a Chatham team that has out-hit them today 7-5, and you want to give the offense a chance, preferably with the game tied and not with a deficit.
There's a high drive left field and deep, going back at the wall, and it is off the scoreboard. A go-ahead solo home run for Jorge Arenas, and the Chatham Anglers jump out in front. It's now 5-4.
Great Angler home run, $50 is donated to the Family Panther.
Jorge Arenas muscles up on 1. And he touches home with his first home run of the season.
And that's what we said. The biggest struggle this season for Blake Espinal, what's it been? It's been keeping balls in the ballpark. And he is going to give up another bomb to give Chatham a 5-4 lead.
Number 6, Kendrick Calilau.
Arenas just completely turns around a Blake Espinal fastball, and for the second time in about a week, the Mariners have lost a lead here in the 8th inning.
That's what happens when you rely so much on the fastballs. The first pitch is going to be in there for a strike to Kendrick Calilau, and there are only so many spots you can put a fastball where a guy's not going to be able to really get around on it, and up in the zone, certainly not that. So I see what he's trying to do. He's trying to challenge him with a high cheese, but boy, that one was a no-doubter off the bat as Jorge Arenas rips that one off the scoreboard, and Chatham is taking a 5-4 lead.
So now Calilau, who's 0 for 3, trying to get off the schneid against Espinal, and 1-1 will miss up and away.
Hey, Colin, more importantly, that now puts this game just 3 outs away out of reach for the Chatham Anglers, as the Harwich Mariners will be sending up Rothenberg, Hughes, and Marshak. At least those are the 3 due up in their half of the ninth.
Swinging a pop-up right side of the infield. It's going to carry out into fairly deep right field, and Mike Ludwig will camp under it and make the catch for out number 2.
I think it's also worth noting that, you and I talked about this a little bit. Harwich has only had 6 games this year, and now this would be the 7th if the score holds, where they have been up in a game and then have been come back on by the team they played against. And if this holds, it'll be 5 of those 7 against Orleans and Chatham, the 2 teams that have just done it to Harwich repeatedly this season.
So Houston Morrill will get an opportunity with the bases empty and 2 away. He struck out twice in this game, and he hits a ground ball hard towards short. Noisy with a tough play, and he throws this ball way away. It's going to go out of play, and Morrill will be granted second base. So an ambitious effort by Dylan Noisy, but too much speed from Morrill, and it's going to be an infield single and an error that allows Morrill to move up to scoring position with 2 away.
And Morrill didn't actually advance there on his own, but because the ball went out of play, he's going to be given second base. So that'll put a runner in scoring position for Caden Polkovich. Another insurance run potentially here for the Chatham A's, and boy, things really starting to unravel here for Harwich. It would have been the play of the year had Dylan Noisy found a way to get that ball at first base, but that's one you just have to kind of cut your losses on, and you got 2 outs. I mean, you only need 1 more. Let the guy take first base and face the next hitter.
First pitch to Polkovich misses outside. The A's now with 10 runs in just under 2 games played at home against the Harwich Mariners, so they've found a lot of success at home against Harwich this season. At the plate, 1-0 from Espinal is swung on and missed for a strike. Generally speaking, Chatham has been a solid team at home in general, 9-6, and then 9-3-2 against the East. Espinal looks over at second. Now the 1-1 is skipped in the dirt. Immediately taking off. The throw down is skipped in, and it's going to go into left field. Morrill's going to try to score. The throw coming in is not going to be in time. It's an insurance run as Houston Morrill scores after a couple of errors, bring them all the way around. It's now 6-4 Chatham.
And the wheels are just coming off here as Harwich just making some questionable decisions in the field. There's really no other way to say it. I mean, just 2 errors there, and that's going to bring in another run here. It's now a 2-run lead for the Chatham Anglers, and Harwich has never come back in a game where they've trailed by more than 1, much less come back in the 9th inning. So it would take a heck of an effort by the Mariners if they're going to find a way to come back in this one.
It's a 2-1 count. Now it's going to be an unearned run charged to Blake Espinal, and he gets a fastball over to even things up 2-2.
And again, that was just, awfully ambitious, the attempt to throw down to third, and then the ball skips well away from him, and nothing that Gallen can do out in left field about it as he was playing awfully deep. So, 2-2 pitch.
Lined and caught right to the third baseman, Acton, and that will end the inning, but not before. Chatham Anglers strike for 2 more runs in the 8th inning, and they pull ahead here 6-4 as we head to the 9th. You're listening to Harwich Mariners Baseball on the Mariners Radio Network. We head to the 9th from Veterans Field. Colin Casey alongside Tyler Henry bringing you coverage of Harwich Mariners baseball. And the Mariners are going to need a pretty heroic comeback as they trail 6-4 going into their last ups. And right now it's the 8, 9, and 1 hitters scheduled to bat. And leading things off for the Mariners will be the scheduled hitter, Mike Rothenberg.
Yep, and Rothenberg has struggled today, 0 for 3. He's got 3 flyouts, 1 to the catcher, 1 to the center fielder, 1 to the left fielder. So see whether he can find his way on here, maybe give Harwich some semblance of hope, although again, they've never made a comeback like this at any point during the season, and we're now 34 games into it. So see whether or not Harwich can find some late inning magic. Maybe they've just been saving it, although Rothenberg will check his swing and look kind of foolish chasing that pitch, fall behind 0-1.
Rothenberg in his first game against the Anglers this season. As you mentioned before, he's 0 for 3 with 3 flyouts and finds himself behind 0-2 as Austin Vernon has been nothing but unhittable since coming out of the pen back in the 8th inning. And here's his 0-2, up and away for a ball. Hal Hughes is in the on-deck circle, so he will bat as scheduled, at least for the time being. The 1-2 is in there on the outside corner for strike 3, and Mike Rothenberg is not happy at all as he has a couple of words with the home plate umpire, Ed McAvin, and walks back to the dugout for the first out in the top of the 9th.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a tough game for McAvin, but with 2 strikes, you got to be awfully protective of the plate, and Rothenberg is going to let that one go. So 2 outs left, and here comes Hal Hughes, who is still looking for his first hit against Chatham all season long. He's 0 for 7, but he did reach on a walk and found his way home to score during that inning.
Yep, that walk being the first time he's reached all season long. Also had a sacrifice bunt in one of the earlier meetings. And the first pitch to Hal Hughes from Vernon misses up and in. Max Marshak also standing the on-deck circle now, so he is expected to bat and a check swing, but basically a full swing from Hal Hughes. He was tied up on that one to even things up 1-1.
Yeah, Vernon really looks in control right now, and this is kind of his game. I mean, he comes in late in games for Chatham and finds a way to close the door. So far, he hasn't given up a single run to the Harwich Mariners in this season.
1-1, and that is on the outside corner as he really had Hal Hughes fooled as he shifted his weight very prematurely and falls behind 1-2. Vernon would be in line for the win. He's able to finish things off. The 1-2 is hit on the ground foul on the third base side. Mariners led this game 4-2 going into the bottom of the 7th, but 2 runs in the 7th, 2 runs in the 8th for Chatham.
And once again, it's going to be a late comeback victory for the Chatham Anglers if they can hold on here against Harwich.
Breaking ball swung on and missed for strike 3, and a great start to the 9th for Austin Vernon. Back-to-back punch-outs. He'll face Max Marshak for a chance to end things and secure the 20th victory of the season for the Chatham Anglers.
Yep, Marshak did reach on a walk, but it's been quite some time since Max Marshak found his way on via a hit.
So Marshak, center fielder out of Texas Tech, who's got quite the arm in the outfield, but still trying to find his footing in the Cape League at the plate. First pitch is in there for a strike, and just some immaculate control so far from Vernon, pounding the strike zone.
Yeah, Max Marshak's last hit came during a game against the Bourne Braves on June 14th, or July 14th rather, so almost a full week ago, and here he'll swing at another pitch, and he's fallen behind 0-2.
Crowd on their feet here at Veterans Field. The 0-2 pitch misses up and away.
Yep, not a bad idea. Try to get him to chase one high and up, but Marshak's able to lay off, and we'll see whether or not he can hang on for another pitch.
Crowd continues to get into it. The 1-2 to Marshak is swung on to miss strike 3. The throw onto first is in time. And the Chatham Anglers with a come-from-behind victory over the Harwich Mariners, and that will end a 3-game winning streak for Harwich as Chatham with a 6-4 victory in front of their home crowd at Veterans Field. We'll be right back to bring you some post-game coverage. Once again, final score in this one, Chatham 6, Harwich Mariners 4. You're listening to Mariners Baseball on the Harwich Mariners Radio Network. Welcome back one last time to Veterans Field. Colin Casey alongside Tyler Henry as the Harwich Mariners' 3-game winning streak comes to an end in heartbreaking fashion as they lose 6-4 on the road against the Chatham Anglers. And Tyler, just another one of those games where the Mariners were in control of their own destiny late and just couldn't quite close the door on Chatham.
Yeah, I mean, again, Chatham coming back in that last game, one run. Well, here it was in twos as they scored 2 runs back in the third and then 2 in the 7th and 2 in the 8th. And that's all it took. Harwich's offense sputtered on late. So they scored 1 run in the 5th inning and never had one after that, and only had 1 base runner after the 5th inning as well. So almost all of the last guys up go down in order for the Harwich Mariners at the back end of this game.
Yeah, and the big hit, of course, of this one being the go-ahead solo home run in the bottom of the 8th from Jorge Arenas. This coming after a game-tying 2-run double from Alex Terral. And really the difference in this one, Tyler, was just the clutch hitting from the Chatham Anglers in this one. I mean, every time they had an opportunity to kind of come to the plate and get their team back in it, they seemingly did it.
Yeah, I mean, give them credit. When they had to make something happen, they made something happen, and you can point to a couple of guys that had a couple of really big hits in this game, especially Jorge Arenas with a 2-run home run that ends up being the deficit, but also a 2-run double for pinch hitter Alex Terral, who came in and did exactly what he was supposed to do. So a big day all around for Chatham, and the pitching came in and did its job as well. Once again, Harwich is going to come up on the tough end, and fortunately for them, the Brewster Whitecaps lose, but now they're the ones leaving the door open for Brewster to maybe slip back into that last playoff spot rather than putting distance between themselves and currently the worst team in the East.
So the Harwich Mariners fall to 16-18 on the season now as the Anglers pick up their 20th win of the season. They improved to 20-12-2. Chatham was able to score 6 runs on 9 hits, committing no errors and leaving 7 on base. Harwich 4 runs on 5 hits. They made 2 errors and left 6 men on base. The win in this one goes to Austin Vernon, who was spectacular out of the bullpen late for the Chatham A's. He goes 2 innings, giving up no hits, no runs, didn't walk anyone, struck out 3 batters, all 3 coming in a perfect 9th inning as he struck out the side. Loss goes to Blake Espinal, who gave up the go-ahead home run in the bottom of the 8th inning. He goes an inning, giving up 2 hits, 2 runs, just the 1 earned on the solo shot. Didn't walk anyone and struck out 1 batter. No save recorded in this one, and Harwich Mariners once again fall 6-4 on the road to Chatham. They will be off tomorrow, as will the Chatham A's, with the All-Star game taking place at Eldridge Park in Orleans. But the Mariners will be back in action on Monday afternoon as they take on Cotuit. That game scheduled to take place at 5 o'clock at Lowell Park down in southwestern Barnstable. So one last time for all of us here at the Harwich Mariners broadcasting team, with our producer Jack Ballinger, our team photographer Alex Weiner, and for Tyler Henry, I'm Colin Casey. Thanks for joining us once again for another edition of Harwich Mariners Baseball, and we will see you on Monday. Once again, the Mariners will take on Cotuit. So long, everybody, and have a good